Okay. Good morning, everybody. Well, for everybody in my time zone or a similar time zone, just give me a few seconds. Sorry, I had to do a couple kind of tests just to make sure the audio and everything were good. You know how things can go in these live streams. So just give it a couple seconds. I guess give people more time to roll in. I think it's nighttime for most of the U.S. It's like 7:35 a.m. here. So yeah, hope everyone's doing good. I'll get this started in a few seconds. I'm just gonna pull up some stuff. Let me see. Yeah, I think it's kind of like midday for a lot of people. Oh, and the previous stream got deleted by accident and had to kind of create a new one. I saw one person put a super chat in before that got deleted. So I'm trying to remember who that was. I believe it was like Cloud. But if that was you, just let me know if you had a question or something in the member chat because they were a member, and I will still address whatever your question was at that time. Um, so yeah, just to kind of kick this off now. Basically, I was supposed to do this 2 days ago, but just kind of somebody shared their illness with me, like when I went out. So I've been kind of down and out of commission for the last 2 days. It was not kind of down with the sickness for 48 hours. It was not fun. So this is still a little bit delayed. Still wasn't quite up to it like 8 hours ago. Now I'm doing much better now. Feel a little bit more rested and not so kind of because it kind of made me a little bit lightheaded and dizzy. So I wasn't going to be able to like sit here for like 2 3 hours talking. Might kind of space out a bit. So it's good to get this going. And if any of you haven't seen Twitter or I don't think we posted it to YouTube yet, but the mobile versions of Super Dark Deception have finally been approved. They were approved, I believe, this morning. So we just saw it right before I sent my tweet out that they were approved. So they've been published. They may take a couple hours to appear in the stores, depending on which country you're in, which time zone. It might be a little bit delayed, a little more than 2 hours. I can't guarantee everything. Every country is going to get it within 2 hours, but it'll appear at some point today in the store market, and you'll be able to buy it and play it if you want to. So the way the mobile version works is pretty much the same as the console and PC. We just charge everything up front, and then as the other chapters release, you get them updated into your game for free because you've basically already paid for them. I've had a lot of people ask me how much is the mobile version, and just for anybody that hasn't heard me say it already or doesn't know, it's $5.99 US dollars, which is about $1.99 per chapter. And of course, Google Play and Apple Store adjust the price based on country. So it's not going to be $5.99 for everybody. It's depending on your country, it could be a lot cheaper. Um, but yeah, that'll be out today. And if we add any additional content, like I've said, we have some goals, some higher level goals for Super Dark Deception success. If the fans support it and it reaches a certain number of sales, then we will look into adding additional really cool content that we kind of wanted to put in from the beginning, but it's time consuming and expensive. So We need the to kind of verify the fan support before we, undertake something of that nature. Stuff like customizable or custom level editor, letting players and fans make their own maps and share them with each other. Some that one's like a higher tier kind of higher on the wish list, probably at the top, because that one requires the most time and effort. Kind of lower level, I think we had local co-op and maybe some speedrun modes. I'm trying to remember everything on the list. There was like 4 items on the list, but that's, I believe, 3 of the 4. And of course, we have some cool DLCs coming. So DLCs will not be added for free. Those are additional content because we have partnerships with other games for those. So those will be added in pretty standard. So you'll have to buy the DLC to add those content. And the DLCs we're planning are going to be kind of like House. House is like playable custom characters, but these differ in that they also add a custom map that you'll be able to play from the Archive Room arcade. So that's kind of the point of the arcade mode or the arcade pedestal inside the arcade. See, it's 7. I'm not fully awake yet. The Archive Room is that you'll be able to go there and play all the additional content that we add. That's going to be pretty cool. We have a couple cool partners that I can't announce yet, and probably they're not going to release until 2025, like somewhere early in 2025. So you won't see any Super Dark Deception DLCs in 2024 other than the house add-on. And that's fine because we want to get Chapter 2 out. The focus is on getting out, the levels and the actual gameplay content rather than the additional stuff. So you'll probably see more of well, you'll see all of the DLCs that we have planned early in 2025 along with like Chapter 3. So, all right. I'm going to kind of run today's episode just because of kind of being down and out for the last 2.5 days. I haven't had a lot of time to organize this, and we've been kind of scrambling to get Apple and Google to approve the mobile builds. That took a lot of time. It was pretty painful. I don't know why that was difficult with them, but it just was. Sometimes it is, and this was one of those times. So it took a lot of back and forth with them to get these approved. Ate up a lot of our time. So I didn't have time to really assemble a question list with our members and our just our subscribers, which I usually do. I'll take questions from whatever they send into our email. We'll kind of go through and choose questions that seem interesting and that we think the community wants to have answered. So this time we can't do that. It's just not enough time for me to put that list together. So what I'm going to do is just like last time. This will be kind of the second time in a row I've done this, where I just kind of focus exclusively on super chats and the member chat to kind of answer questions that our top supporters and anybody that wants to support us through super chats have about our games. I think next time will be a little bit better. We'll be able to get some of the subscriber questions in again, but this time it's just going to be members and super chats. So it'll be a little bit shorter. I don't think we're going to, please don't pass last time's 3.5 hours. We'll still get a good stream, and this will hopefully answer a lot of cool things for all of you. It depends on if you guys have some really cool questions for me, like some very interesting ones. So a lot of you have watched a lot of our previous live streams. This is episode 28, by the way. I can't believe we've done 28 of these. I thought this was going to be kind of just a short term little thing that I was going to do when chapter 3 and 4 were releasing for Dark Deception. And it's been kind of fun to keep it going and keep engaging with the community. So obviously, disclaimer, full disclosure, I can't answer any questions that are spoilers. So if you ask me something directly that's going to reveal or spoil anything lore-wise or gameplay-wise with Chapter 5, I can't really answer those. So you'll get kind of the you'll see response from me. But I'll still thank you for your support. And your question won't be skipped. And then I think I kind of have to do like a new one, like if anyone... Because if you can kind of consolidate your questions into like a like more less super chats. Like rather than spacing it out and giving me 10 super chats, just kind of consolidate it down to maybe like 3 or 4, and you can put more of that together, and that'll just make it easier to reach other people and their questions, because some users, they want to support but they have a lot of questions, and they'll spread it out into like micro super chats, which is fine, but it kind of like blocks the others from getting their questions answered. So just kind of consolidate that down into less questions, or less super chats with more questions in it. I don't mind to do like maybe 1 or 2 or 3 questions per super chat, as long as they're like quick and fast and easy to answer. You know, if you ask me like a question that's like a really deep explanation to it, something that's a little bit more vague, then you might want to give that one a super chat by itself. Or if you're a member, just, you know, I'll sort through the member questions as I go. So yeah, just to kind of touch on that first, to kind of keep things moving along and give everybody a chance to ask their questions. But I think we've been mostly good about that. So without further ado, I'm going to kind of go into the live chat right now. We've got a lot of stuff from our members. All right. I don't know. I'm just making sure I don't skip anybody. So I'm trying to find the beginning of this. Okay, we have a $5. I guess I'll go with the super chats first, and then I'll finish up with the member chats. So members, if you have any questions that you want to throw me, just go ahead and start dropping them into the chat, and I will kind of scroll back. Don't worry, you won't be buried and forgotten. I'll scroll back to the beginning and kind of comb through them and see which ones are unique and haven't been kind of addressed in the super chats. So kicking off the super chats to start, we have $5 from Anonymous. Thank you, Anonymous, for your support. It says, hi Vince, Anonymous fan here. Can you give us a non-spoiler fact about the Red Stalkers? I always have trouble kind of remembering what I've already said about the Red Stalkers, so that I don't tell you something that you already know. There's not a lot I can reveal about them at this point. I mean, I think I've already shared, everybody knows that they're connected to Puppet King and that there's multiple Red Stalkers. It's not just going to be one type. I've shown 2 of the types, the male and female versions. I don't think I've revealed more than that. I can't reveal the other types. I want that to be a surprise, because it's very specific to certain portions of the level, and I want it to be kind of a cool thing that you encounter and don't know about, rather than you're already expecting it. So I can't really reveal the types, but maybe I can tell you how many types there are. I don't think I've said that, like how many types there are. Let's see, there's 1, 2, 3. There's at least 5 types of the mannequins, of the Red Stalkers. So yeah, there's 5 types. So hopefully that's something new. I don't think I've said that before. So you know exactly like how many variations you're going to encounter. You won't know which ones, what they are. All right, Sea Dog, $300.99. Thank you, Sea Dog, and congrats on your 3-year YouTube anniversary. Okay. Says, hi Vince, anything about the lamprey mouth enemy? That one is kind of a surprise. I haven't really gone into detail about what that character is. Kind of like the first teaser I posted for Chapter 5 with the kind of masked-faced enemy that people have kind of guessed about. They think it looks like Nemesis or something. I can't go into detail on those 2 characters or the lamprey mouth character. They do play very important roles in Chapter 5. They are not minor characters. So that's one of the surprises that I'm going to save for the release, because that's something you should experience unspoiled for the first time. So I know a lot of people want to know things in advance, but to really enjoy a game, at least for the first time you play it, you need to have things not spoiled. So you know, and all in good time. You'll get to enjoy those characters fairly reasonably soon, and then we can talk more about them after that, after everyone's had a chance to kind of experience what they add to the story. A Loaf of Brie through in 5. Thank you, Loaf. Will Puppet King and Darkstar interact with each other in Chapter 5? Or will we see any of the other generals interact with each other? So, Puppet King and Darkstar, I can't specify which characters you'll see interact, but yes, you will get to see Malik's generals, some of them, interact with each other. Um, it may be relevant to the story. It may just be for character development, just to show more layers of those characters' personalities. But yeah, the big goal with Chapter 5 was to show that everything in this world is connected and that they are aware of each other and that they do relate to each other. And that that's something Doug will get to witness as well as he goes through. Not just the relationship with the other monsters and nightmares within the Dark Deception world, but also the relationship with Malik, how he treats them, how they treat him, or how they respond to him. Just things like that. I think it makes things feel much more alive. Whereas in the early Dark Deception chapters, like 1 and 2, that wasn't explored as much because it was pretty straightforward focus on gameplay. But as we got into chapters 3, 4, and now 5, we kind of slowly ramped up the story and the lore and the character relations and the character development. So chapter 5 is kind of a culmination of all of that, and we want to really kind of go a lot further with that. See, another one from Anonymous, another 5. Thank you very much again. What are your plans for Monsters and Mortals after Coma and Roblox DLCs? Well, for that, that's a good question for Monsters and Mortals. The Coma DLC is still very much on track. We've actually finished the environment. We're just doing the gameplay at this moment with the boss mechanics, the boss time mechanics, and the trap time. So I'm expecting, if it continues, the progress keeps going well, that it'll drop somewhere in October, probably alongside the release of Monsters and Mortals on consoles, which will be Xbox Series S, X, and PS5. Given that this is an Unreal Engine 5 game now, those are the two consoles I've said we're starting with to see if fans support it. If we can make back what we've invested to do the console versions on those two consoles, then that will kind of give us the funding we need to expand it to other consoles. So it's really up to the community whether those succeed or not. If they don't succeed, if nobody buys them, they all stick with the Steam version, then it'll kind of just die there and we won't push it out to any other consoles. So that's really up to the fans. How much do you guys want it on your system of choice? PS5 and Xbox Series X are simply the most powerful consoles available, and they offer the best and smoothest gameplay experience. So, yeah, I'm expecting all of that in October. The Roblox and Doors combo DLC will probably take a little bit longer and go into December, I think. Probably December. Possible it could slide into even January, because that one we're not really rushing. We've been talking to Elsplash and Minitune, and we want this to be done right, and we want it to be really good. So, especially with Doors 2, or Doors Second Floor just releasing, and that game was a blast. We want to kind of address a little bit of that too. So yeah, we want that one to be kind of the peak DLC for Monsters and Mortals. And after that, we're going to kind of focus on the base game. So getting in chapters 4 and 5 levels. I can't guarantee we're going to add every level from those 2 chapters in. We'll just probably choose the ones that are fan favorites. So obviously, like Joy Joy Land will go in with Joy Kill. We'll be focused on getting that in. And then possibly like Barely Buried, and depending on which levels are kind of most popular in chapter 5. And that'll be kind of a wrap on, I think after we get those in, Monsters and Mortals will feel pretty complete to us, and we'll put a bow on it as far as that first version of Monsters and Mortals. I guess you could call it Monsters and Mortals 1. So at that point, we'll kind of consider that completed. You know, we've put all we can into Monsters and Mortals, and it's not based on a server, so it's never going to be sunsetted or killed. You'll always be able to play Monsters and Mortals as long as you have friends to play it with. There's always the private hosting mode. You can easily invite your friends to play with you, and world play, as long as there's people playing, it will be functional. So it's a game that doesn't die. It dies and it comes back, and it dies and it comes back. But it doesn't get permanently sunsetted and making your investment in the game, you know, wasted and useless like a lot of other multiplayer games do. We wanted to set it up to be playable even long past its lifespan. Let's see, Croco64 threw in £5. Thank you, Croco. Says, hi, Dark Disillusion Chapter 3 is almost out, and it'd be really awesome if you checked it out before it released to catch up. It's the best one yet. Yeah, I've been seeing screenshots of the for those who don't know, mispronouncing it. Dark Disillusion is a fan game made by members of the Dark Deception community. They've been sharing it, I believe, on GameJolt. From what I've seen a few screenshots here and there on Twitter. It looks very promising. It's probably one of the best Dark Deception fan games that I've seen. Visually, I don't know about the gameplay. I haven't actually got a chance to play yet. It sounds like they're on Chapter 3. So by the time I get a little free time to check out, I've been thinking a while about doing another live stream, especially for charity, possibly. I'm kind of behind on doing the Or charity live stream, which I intended to do a couple months ago. So that's still on the horizon for me. I want to do another charity live stream for OR, which is Organization for Autism Research. So that'd be like, maybe that could be a really cool thing to do for that, is to play all the Dark Deception fan games, which I kind of did before. And that would be a kind of chance to catch up on a game like this or other games. I know there's a couple others like Animatronic Atrocity. I'm trying to think of some of the other big ones that have kind of been brought to my attention. Hopefully by then, that Dark Deception kart racing game will be done. I don't know if that's still in development or progress. That one looked really cool to me. I've always wanted to see kind of a Dark Deception kart racer, just because I love Mario Kart, as you can probably tell from Monsters and Mortals. So yeah, that's probably the scenario where I could reasonably sit down and play these kind of games, to check out what the community's been up to, because I do love to see what the Dark Deception community's cooking up. So if I'm, I'm always super busy, so if I don't get to your game right away, don't feel bad. I'll get to it eventually. Just keep working, keep making it awesome. I don't know how many chapters you intend to do, but at some point I'll get to check them all out. And just think of it that way. I'll get a bigger scope of your picture, rather than if I had kind of looked at it early when you only had chapter 1 out. Okay, Boogeyman Toilet threw in 5. Thank you. Hi Vince, have you seen anyone predict something for chapter 5 you thought nobody would predict? Actually, no, that's actually a fun question, because with chapters, well, I think mainly with chapter 4. With chapter 4, there was some people that accurately predicted things far in advance as to what was going to happen to things. For story elements, I thought nobody would really guess. So I realized, like, when I tease too much, some people are really good at putting things together and kind of guessing story points that maybe I thought were too vague to be guessed, and they just kind of casually mention it. And I'm like, oh shoot, they know. With chapter 5, surprisingly, that hasn't happened yet. I've seen a lot of good interpretations and theories as to what's going to happen in chapter 5. But for the most part, nobody has really guessed accurately what's going to go down with chapter 5, including the ending. And I've seen a lot of theories about the ending of chapter 5 and Dark Deception in general. What's going to happen in Dark Deception 2, like which characters are going to survive this game to be in the second game. It's always interesting to read those, but the story of Dark Deception's already written, so it's kind of interesting comparing and seeing if fans are getting close to it or not. So I try to only tease things that give them like a hint of what's chapter 5 is going to be about, what it's going to look like, but doesn't give them too much to work with as far as guessing. Just because some of the fans, I respect that some of the fans are very good at guessing. And honestly, like somebody's still going to guess something accurately at some point. It's just inevitable. If you throw out 1,000 ideas, one of them is going to be correct. I'll just silently acknowledge that you're correct in the background. I won't come out and say it. So we've got another 5 from anonymous fan. Thank you again. Why in the universe didn't Mama Bear, Puppet King, and Darkstar go into the ballroom after Mascot Mayhem? Oh, well, at that point, it's only the enemies that have been encountered. So they are the nightmares that Doug has already experienced. So the Mama Bear, Puppet King, and Darkstar at this point, Doug had encountered them, so they didn't appear into the ballroom. As far as that point in the game, their portals were still locked. Let's see, JM Death Punch DD, $5. Would you consider adding more ambient sound effects? Or, sorry, more ambient sounds or effects to maps areas that become completely quiet? No, we usually make things, areas of the game, quiet intentionally. That's not because we're lacking a song track or don't have sound effects. We use it for building suspense or just to draw attention to a different aspect of that environment rather than having music playing or ambient music. So there are going to be portions of Dark Deception which are eerily quiet or have very subtle ambient background noise or music. And that's because we do want to not distract in that moment and draw attention to anything else other than what we want to draw attention to. Okay, we have another 5 from Anonymous. Thank you, Anonymous. It says, if Mama Bear is Malik's executioner, what are the roles of the other nightmares? Well, Malik's generals all do have a role, and in fact, you could probably label all 4 of the generals as executioners in their own way. It's just Mama Bear's nightmare realm is kind of like an execution site. It's like a farm he kind of takes his enemies to sometimes because essentially there's no escape from it. It's kind of like a one-way entry. There's not another way out. So Mama Bear kind of and her triggered teddies kind of deal with problems that he needs to dispose of quickly. Lucky is very effective, but Lucky is kind of a wild card. So he doesn't always, he kind of marches to the beat of his own drum. He has a tendency to go off script. So he's not always reliable in Malik's eyes. He's very effective, but you kind of always roll the dice when you use him as to what he's going to do. You'll see more about Darkstar and Puppet King, why Malik doesn't always rely on them as much. They also have very strong personalities, and they are good for very specific use situations as far as Malik's concerned. Mama Bear's typically the most reliable of the 4. Let's see, Calum Roxas threw in 2. Can you add bots to Monsters and Mortals to combat long wait times? Add bots. Oh, okay. You mean bot players. So, I mean, I think at this point, Monsters and Mortals is pretty set in as far as the gameplay. We've talked about doing a single player mode where players can go and play exclusively against bots offline, so that there's a single player offline mode to complement the online multiplayer mode. So that's far more likely than adding bots to fill in. It's just very complicated to have bots playing with real-time players. So I know a lot of multiplayer games make that seem easy to the player, but you don't understand the investment in those games. We don't have that investment. So we don't have like a large pool of programmers making that happen. And we're not putting millions of dollars into Monsters and Mortals. It just doesn't have that level of support. It's a very cult niche game that has a certain defined level of support from fans, and that we can kind of have to work within that. I think a lot of times fans kind of lose track of the difference between AAA and indie, and they kind of take for granted that a lot of features cost a lot of money to put in, and they're not easy. Just because it's in the game doesn't mean it was easy to put in the game. It may have likely took months or even years to implement bug fix and get it working properly. And there's only a handful of people that know how to do that for that specific mode. And I'm sure there are some, I don't know, I haven't seen any. I don't know if there's any plugins for something like that are being sold on asset stores like Unreal and Unity. They're usually highly unreliable, and they're often like duct tape code that breaks the game and causes other bugs to appear. So we usually just do everything ourselves. We don't like to buy assets like that. So, I mean, we kind of have to work within our skill set, what we can do. Single player offline mode is probably the most feasible, but even that's taking a lot of time. So that's something we'll probably add in later after the console release, after we see kind of how much support there is for the console versions and for the DLCs. If the Monsters and Mortals community comes out and supports those and makes them a success, then we can keep kind of adding things. But if they don't come out and those things don't sell well, we kind of have to pool our resources at some point and focus on the games that do sell well. So Monsters and Mortals is always sold just well enough that it can keep going forward, that it's a success, and that it's profitable. So it makes sense for us to keep putting our time into it and keep building it and making it better. So we really are 100% reliant on the fans for that. If the fans keep telling us we want more Monsters and Mortals, we're here to support this game, then we'll keep working on it. So yeah, with fan support, anything's possible. But we don't put our money and time into things just to show it off and be like, hey, we made this, and then nobody plays it, and it we lose all our money, and then but at least it exists. That's like a fast way to go out of business. So we can only do things that the fans support. Long story short. Let's see. We got another 5 from Anonymous. It says, is there another nightmare realm where abusive fathers turned into one nightmare, like with Mama Bear and abusive mothers? Well, I mean, I wouldn't say there's not a nightmare realm for abusive fathers, but I guess Doug's already kind of got that nailed down. He's already kind of that message in the game. And you will kind of get to deal with that aspect in Chapter 5 a bit. Like, it will touch on the abusive father issues surrounding that, like growing up with an abusive father. So Doug's story kind of explores both the abusive mother and the abusive father, and they're very different with their types of abuse. Typically, they associate fathers with being physically abusive and mothers with being emotionally abusive, but Doug is a bit of both, or he presents a bit of both, in that he has endured both, and both endured emotional abuse, and he has also dished out emotional abuse. So he's kind of a continuation of that issue. He suffered it and he perpetuated it. So you'll get to see that and how it affected his life in Chapter 5. But there's not a nightmare just purely dedicated to that. At least not in this first version of Dark Deception. Biggie Man toilet through another 2. What happened to the Tokyo Game Show Q&A? Oh. Dark Deception Q&A. Oh, you're talking about the live stream. Oh, sometimes we just kind of like sunset some of our older videos. We don't keep all of our videos up. So that's one that we kind of sunsetted. It just didn't have a lot of views on it, and we've kind of there were a couple others we've removed as well for various reasons. That's just something we do with our YouTube channel. We preen it. Don't worry, we'll do other future Tokyo Game Show Q&As. I may be at this one this year, next week. I don't know. I've been invited to go to the Tokyo Game Show this year. I'm kind of debating if I want to go to Tokyo and do it again, just because at the moment we do have some games to show. We've got Super Dark Deception and new Monsters and Mortals content. But I feel like next year would be better, just because by that point we'll have Chapter 5 and Chapter 1 through 4 update. Dark Deception will be complete. Super Dark Deception will be complete. And we'll have some cool DLC out. So it'll be a little bit more exciting to talk about. But I may still go. It's just I don't think we're not going to exhibit. So I may just go and walk around and talk to people and kind of see what's new, and maybe try to make some cool partnerships happen. That kind of thing. So don't worry, there will be plenty of chances for more Tokyo Game Show Q&As. Let's see, Gaming Scrooge threw in 25. Thank you, Gaming Scrooge. And also first year, I don't know if that's YouTube anniversary or member anniversary. So I think it's YouTube anniversary. So congrats on that. And says, hello Vince, will you update the Dark Deception OST playlist in YouTube so that all of the tracks are in gameplay order, perhaps after Chapter 5 is done? Yeah, the Chapter 5, everything's in order except for Chapter 5, because it's been kind of mixed randomly as I just kind of randomly select various tracks throughout the chapter to share with you all. So pretty soon what I'm going to do is, what I did for Chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4 is we're going to put out a mini album that will be on Amazon and Spotify and everything, and it'll have every single Chapter 5 music track in it. And then once I do that, I'll put it on YouTube and also kind of organize Chapter 5 tracks. So just kind of endure and bear with me for the moment that they are kind of mixed for Chapter 5. We will, for all the people who have supported our soundtrack and love Dark Deception music, we will have the Chapter 5 music out soon as a mini album. And since Chapter 5 will be out, we will also put out one complete Dark Deception soundtrack that has all tracks from all levels. And it'll be kind of a discounted price compared to buying them all individually. So for anyone who hasn't bought the Dark Deception OST yet, either from Amazon or on Apple, iTunes, or maybe added it to your list on Spotify, you'll be able to just get that complete soundtrack. For anyone that's already bought, the previous mini albums, you can just buy the Chapter 5 mini album. It'll be the same. It's just you bought them individually rather than all together, but you didn't have to wait such a long time to get that. So it's... All right. Let me see. Okay, Anonymous threw another 5. Thank you again. Has Doug ever seen any of Bierce's movies? Is she still considered famous? No, Doug has never seen any of Bierce's movies. He's aware of her, and you'll see more about that in Chapter 5. But is she still considered famous? She's acknowledged as a relic of her era. So she has a permanent status as being one of the most famous stars of her era. But no, there's a curiosity around her, kind of like there's a curiosity around James Dean and other big stars that kind of were cut down or maybe like Amelia Earhart, they disappeared or they perished or passed away early before they kind of reached their full potential. I think her status is more of that nature. There's a curiosity about her that kind of persists through time. But her days of being a star are over. Her time has passed. Her mortal life has passed as well. Let's see, JM. Oh, wait, no, not that one. See, Unicat Ingest threw in 5. And she's asking for a friend, I guess, the Guy Lord. Is it possible to have Undertale DLC for Monsters and Mortals and Super Dark Deception in the future? Have you considered working with Toby Fox? No, probably not. And I know there's a lot of Undertale fans, and that would be like a great money move, like because the Undertale fan community is so loyal and so committed to supporting that game. It's an amazing game. I own it, and it's would be a great partnership. It's just it doesn't really. It's kind of like I think Scott said recently with FNAF and Dead by Daylight. He only kind of works with um, IP that fit his game, and I think we kind of take that approach too. I've kind of reached in the past and gone with some things that were kind of skirting the line and didn't really fit. You could definitely say Yandere Simulator was one of those, and it didn't work out well. And it's something I've kind of learned my lesson with. We're going to stick with games that fit with Dark Deception, that have add value to kind of the horror setting and world and themes that we create, rather than reaching out for games with like the largest audience. So I think Undertale would be a great partner for somebody, just not for Dark Deception. It's just not really a good fit with what the characters and world that we have. Um, I feel like they should definitely work with Earthbound Mother at some point, since that's what it's based on. For us, a better partnership would be something like Pac-Man, because that's essentially what inspired Dark Deception. Things of that nature, or something horror focused like Resident Evil. So we'll kind of like target things that are either very very influential to our gameplay, or very influential to the horror gaming genre that we have a lot of respect for, and we'll kind of target those partnerships. Let's see. Anonymous fan threw in another 5. Thank you again. Are nightmares aware of their life as humans? Well, not all nightmares are born from mortal souls. So typically, they don't really have strong memory of their previous life. It's kind of like when you're reborn. If you look at some religions where there's rebirth, they don't have any awareness or knowledge of their previous life. Maybe they have dreams that have hints or suggestions of their previous life, but they're never aware of the context or what those dreams mean. And they're never aware of the connection, that it actually is something real. They'll just dismiss it as a dream. So for a lot of demons, they don't have an awareness of their previous life. You could say Agatha's special in that she does have an awareness of her previous life, but you'll find out why in chapter 5. It isn't intentional that she has those memories. Let's see. Andreas Gustavo threw in 2 rows. Thank you. Is the 13th level... Oh, sorry. Is the 13th level part before or after Wicked Ways? 13th level part. Sorry, I'm trying to guess what that is referring to. Actually, Wicked Ways is the 13th level. I kind of think I remember what you're referring to now, that I said there's 5 portals in chapter 5. So you could consider Wicked Ways the 13th portal, if you're going off that. Let's see, anonymous fan threw another 5. Why do Pyramid Head and Malik, still reading this wrong, what do Pyramid Head and Malik think of each other? That's non-canon. So Pyramid Head and Malik are not connected story-wise at all. That's simply a DLC for Monsters and Mortals. And working with Konami, there's not allowed to be any story, because they don't want the story of Pyramid Head changed. So that's just a completely non-canon guest appearance. There's no connection between the characters. Virtual Man threw in 20. Thank you very much, Virtual Man. After the Roblox Doors and Piggy and Coma 2 crossovers, Have you thought about maybe doing a Monsters and Mortals crossover with Dark Deception fan games like Dark Disillusion? Not speaking on behalf of Thingamajig, but I think he may be interested. Uh, Probably not. We can't do fan games because they're supposed to be unofficial. If we ever do an official game that we kind of officially publish, kind of like um, with FNAF, where they have the Joy of Creation and trying to think of some of their other fan games that were officially published. What's the? I'm trying to think of the name of the recent one, the Ball Pit one that's based off their book, Into the Pit. I think that's what it's called. So those are officially sponsored and published games within the FNAF universe. So using FNAF universe is the best comparison because it's the most developed and the best supported by community developers. So if we get to the point where we can do something like that, and if Dark Disillusion was one of those officially published games, then it would make sense to do that. But of course, there's always a business side to everything. We'd have to look at how popular is the fan game. And I'm not referring to Dark Disillusion here, any fan game. We'd have to look at how much does the Dark Deception community like that game? How much is it getting supported by them? Are they willing to buy it? So with something like Joy of Creation and Into the Pit, the FNAF fans are willing to buy it. They're willing to support it, and they want to have additional content like that. So that gave Scott the incentive to officially publish and support those games and create a fanverse. So when some fan games become equally popular to the actual main games, that's when something like that works and it makes sense and it can be supported and fully published. So yeah, it really is kind of like a business decision, even for somebody like Scott or for any of those teams like Mob or Joey Drew Studios. If they ever do anything like that, it's going to be kind of an equal thing. How popular is this game? How badly does the community want it? And are they willing to support it? If the answer is yes, 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 just yes all the way, then that makes absolute sense. But if it's not, if it's very niche and it's only like 100 people playing it and nobody wants to spend money on it, they just want it for free, it won't make sense to do something like that. Let's see. Shadow X Acno, thank you for your $2 there. It said, what year does Dark Deception take place in? Well, Dark Deception doesn't really have a set time period. I kind of allude to different eras within Dark Deception. So I'll allude to, the Bierce's era in the 1930s and Doug and his family's era in the late 80s, early 90s. And then I've put some elements of more recent decades in, like you're running around with a tablet. So it does kind of have bits of, mortal eras sprinkled throughout. So you can see that it's the passage of mortal time in the passage of time in the mortal world is kind of populating the nightmare realms with items from those worlds as, mortal souls pass and become part of that world. They bring elements of their eras with them. I haven't really nailed it to a specific year that you are in at that point because, there's not really... Time doesn't flow the same in the nightmare realms as it does in the mortal world. So it's kind of hard to nail it to a specific year because the flow of time in both is very, very different. And also, in most games, we want this game to be kind of timeless and playable 10, 20 years from now and enjoyable, kind of like games were from, it's just to date myself, like 20 years ago from my childhood, when I was a lot younger, like those games are still played even today. So it's kind of like that. So if you date stamp something, it just makes it a little bit less relatable. It kind of date locks the game, and we're not really focused on doing that. I'm not focused on doing that. I want to keep it open so it feels like something that's just continuous, almost like a never-ending story. Boogeyman Toilet threw in 5. Thank you again. And he says, will Puppet King replace the mannequin on the menu screen? Yes, he will. If so, will we see this in Enhanced Plus and as well, and the Puppet King portal in Enhanced Plus? Yes. So, like the recent screenshot I shared of the ballroom to show some of the visual updates, still has the mannequin portal that has already been replaced. It's just in that screenshot, it's still there because it was turned on by mistake. So, not to trick anybody if they think like I'm still keeping the mannequin, the red stalker head, kind of spike head as the portal. It's not. It's Puppet King. So yes, Puppet King will be on all portals. He'll be on the title screen as well. And yeah, that will be throughout the entire game, including in like the submenus. Oh, okay. So YouTube finally explained to me what those numbers mean. It's the number of super chats. Wow. Okay. So the next one is Unicat and Jess again. Through another 5. Thank you, Unicat. And she's asking for Marshall JPG, and she asks, will 3 be more, sorry, a little typo. Will there be more enemies with voices in Prison Panic apart from Dark Star? Does any Chapter 5 level not have a title card, like with Barely Buried? So yes, there are other characters inside of Prison Panic that do have voices, namely the prisoners, but there are some other characters as well. So you will encounter many characters that are vocal within Prison Panic. It's not just Darkstar. And as far as Chapter 5 level not having a title card, all levels have title cards in Dark Deception at the moment. So yeah, there won't be any levels that don't have a title card. Okay, JM Death Punch DD through another 5 says, will you consider remaking render posters that were made years ago put into Dark Deception? Like the Joy Joy Gang wall posters in Zone 2 and such. We're updating all the levels visually. As far as like wall posters, we're probably not going to update those. We'll leave them as is unless they look really kind of outdated or don't visually contribute to the level, like they are detrimental. But that's kind of a determination that will be made by our team. It hasn't really been a focus yet, but we're still kind of going through the levels, improving them as for the chapter 1 through 4 levels. And we'll eventually kind of get to those. Oops, uh-oh. Sorry, YouTube did the jump again. Let me find where it was. Lonely Mage through and 2. And it says this is your 10th super on a live stream. So thank you very much for supporting us. Have any Wicked Ways tracks been uploaded yet? No, there are actually no existing Wicked Ways music tracks at the moment. Chapter 5 has a massive amount of song tracks, as I'm sure you've seen as we've kind of released them, that there's a lot. So Dan's been working very hard on all these tracks and getting through them. Wicked Ways is a level that we haven't really addressed yet. In some ways, it's a smaller level than other levels, but it still has a lot of music. So, actually, wait, no, there is one Wicked Ways track that has been released. I'm sorry, I correct myself. I forgot about it. It's the Don't Call Me Helen track. That's from Wicked Ways. So if anybody wants to hear a Wicked Ways track, that's the only one I've shared at this point. Let's see. Alp threw in 5,001. Thank you, Alp. As mentioned in the previous Q&A, is it still true that there are more mannequins than infinitely summon teddies and that there are 6 endings. Okay, so yes, there are more mannequins than teddies as far as being on screen at once. So there are more mannequins on screen at once than teddies. You could also say that the mannequins are infinite, just as the teddies are infinite. You know, Mama Bear can spawn as many of them as she wants, and Puppet King has a limitless number of mannequins to work with, and he can also spawn them at will. Excuse me. And as far as the endings, yes, 6 endings. Unicat Ninjas threw in another 2. Hypersalt asks, is Mecha Monkey a boss? No, Mecha Monkey is not a boss. Bubba Kelmer threw in 7. Thank you, Bubba. And this is your first super, so thank you for supporting us. I appreciate it. Will the Red Stalkers rely on other senses instead of sight? And is Prison Panic larger than Holiday Horror? Let's see. Yes, the Red Stalkers do rely on other senses instead of sight. So they will detect you in a very unique way. And is Prison Panic larger than Holiday Horror? Visually, sheer scale, yes. But as far as actual gameplay territory, yeah, I would say it's still bigger. I felt like they're pretty close as far as like actual playable area. But no, I think Prison Panic's bigger in most regards. Just the sheer scope of it. As you can tell, just that one scene I've showed you is a massive void with a kind of infinite span of stacks of crates and things. That's just the entrance to that level. So yeah, Prison Panic's pretty big. Let's see, Santame threw in €2. Thank you, Santame. Will there be more difficulties added to Dark Deception? Yeah, actually, you'll get those in the chapter 1 through 4 update, where we have added basically the same difficulty modes that Super Dark Deception has. So in that regards, they are the same. They're using the exact same difficulty modes. It's just, you know, of course, it's handled a bit differently in Dark Deception, given that it's 3D. Autumn Azor threw in 2. Who'd win a fight between Darkstar and Puppet King? Honestly, I think it would be a stalemate. They both have their strengths and weaknesses, and they both have a lot to work with. So without revealing any spoilers, I think they'd be kind of deadlocked without a clear winner, and they'd probably cause a lot of damage in the process. Koopa Troopa threw in 5. Thank you. And this is your first super chat, so thank you for supporting us too. Are we going to see any of the scrap monsters return, like Vulture and Pig Police Officer? I think that's a popular one I get at least once every Q&A. And unfortunately, no, we don't have any plans to use them at this current time. We have them kind of in our backlog of cut enemies. They weren't right for this game, but maybe in the future they'll be right for a different game. Or we may take them and redesign them into something better. But at the moment, there's no intention to kind of put them back into Dark Deception or Monsters and Mortals or Super Dark Deception. That's not saying that won't happen. It's just that right now there's no plans. Out of those 3 games, if it did happen, it would probably make the most sense to do it for Super Dark Deception or Monsters and Mortals. But just given based on the sales right now, I think Super Dark Deception is going to be more popular than Monsters and Mortals, so it's more likely it would go into that. Okay, Zabuzen threw in 5. Thank you, Zabuzen. Will we get voice reveals for Puppet King and Darkstar? Hope you're feeling well. Well, thank you for your concern. Yes, I'm feeling much better. I'm still a little drowsy and a little bit kind of lightheaded, but it's like at least I don't feel sick anymore. I'm okay, and I don't have like a migraine or anything. It's all good. I can do this live stream. and sound reasonably coherent. And as far as like the voice reveals for Puppet King and Darkstar, yes, that is the intention. Once I've kind of finished recording some of our rewrites, we have a lot of voice lines for them. So I've kind of held off on doing a voice reveal, but I think we could probably do that before the end of 2024. And of course, the lines I share won't reveal anything. It'll probably be mostly like interaction sounds and voice lines. It's not going to have anything that reveals anything about the story. Let's see. Sobble55 through and 2. Thank you. What would be the next arc in Dark Deception? Excuse me. So I do have the next arc in Dark Deception, and it's a continuation of the Shattered Ring arc for Dark Deception 1. I can't really describe it at all, of course, until after Chapter 5 releases, because it does kind of play off the canon ending of Dark Deception. So it would reveal kind of how that goes. So that's probably something I'll start talking about as soon as Chapter 5 goes out, you know, a week after everybody's had a chance to play it. A lot of people have beaten it. Then I'll start talking about Dark Deception 2 and what's coming and where we're going from that ending that everyone either likes or hates. We'll see. And just get people excited for what's coming, because it's much, much bigger than Dark Deception, where even Chapter 5, it's bigger than Chapter 5. And it's very, very ambitious. So Chapter 5 is kind of the prelude to what we want to do with Dark Deception 2. And so we need to make sure Dark Deception Chapter 5 is done right, that it really wows people, and everyone really has a lot of fun with it, because Dark Deception 2 is pretty much that on steroids. So we want to make sure everything goes well, and we've got a lot to talk about with Dark Deception 2, and still kind of nailing down the arc name for that. And once I have it, you know, it's possible with Chapter 5 goes out, I'm also going to start, I'll probably drop like a teaser for Dark Deception 2 to go with it, since it's been so long. That could be anything. It could be just the logo for Dark Deception 2 and the reveal of the arc name. Could even be a teaser trailer, like a short teaser trailer of what's coming. But there will be probably something with Dark Deception 2 that goes out with the final chapter of Dark Deception 1. All right, Star through in 5. Thank you, Star. Says, hey Vince, hope you're doing great. Could you post a Puppet King full-time model or full model sometime? Do it for us fan artists. No, I can't. Not before the game releases, because they always wind up on those sites where the people start, you know, those sites where they're selling our models, and we have to go copy strike those. Unfortunately, it's kind of like the legit fans and fan artists kind of suffer because of the people that don't respect our assets. So same with our music. We want to share our music early, but then some people will steal it and go put it up on sites and try to charge people money for it. It's just something we always have to combat and deal with, and it's just like another headache. So we usually want to hold off on sharing assets until the actual game is released, because it will distract us and we'll have to go chase them with our lawyers, and it just takes away our time from the game. So even though you yourself won't do anything like that, there's a lot of people that do. All in good time. You'll get to play with it at some point. James Smith threw in €5. Thank you, James Smith. Dark Disillusion is out now and definitely worth a try. Also, will the final level be called Scary Secret? No, actually, the final level in Dark Deception is Wicked Ways. So that is the final level. And as far as Dark Disillusion being out, I definitely recommend all of our fans to go give it a try. You know, support the community. Fan developers, I think it's really important for the Dark Deception community to support fans that go out of their way to create content for the Dark Deception community. They put a lot of time and work into this. It's usually a team effort, and they're doing it for you. So these are free games. They're not making any money off this. This is purely their passion and their love for Dark Deception, It's a love I think we all share. So I want their game to be successful and have a lot of attention and praise from our community if it's good. So definitely give it a try. It's on Game Jolt. Just look up Dark Disillusion. That goes for any Dark Deception fan game that fans find worth their time. I would recommend some of the couple that I've seen, but I know there's a lot more than what I've seen because I've been too busy to really kind of see every fan game that's on the horizon. I only know the ones that I've personally posted and shared. So I encourage any fan developers working on new games, if you think it's in a state that you're ready to show me, feel free to share with me. Tag me on Twitter. That's probably the best place. And then I'll try to help you get more eyes on it. And I recommend the Glowstick Entertainment Discord server is a great place to share the game and try to get the Dark Deception community to give it a try and give you feedback so you can make it better. But yeah, I encourage all of our Dark Deception fan developers to, just keep cooking, keep moving forward, and reach out to the community and try to share your work. Loaf of Brie through another 2. Can we expect Chapter 5 Teaser 1 before end of 2024? Yeah, I think a Chapter 5 teaser before the end of 2024 is reasonable. It's something we've kind of been targeting. Of course, my plans are always affected by delays. The delay of Super Dark Deception's mobile release. But now that's like a weight, off my shoulders that it's finally out. So all of our Chapter 1 versions are released on all platforms, and we've stabilized the game significantly. Some of the early release bugs, they're all gone. So we're looking now at Chapter 2's release and getting that out very soon. So that's entirely our focus right now. And then, of course, getting it out onto all the other platforms as well. And then our focus is also addressing Monsters and Mortals, getting out the Coma 2 DLC, and possibly the Doors and Piggy collaboration. So somewhere in there, we're going to find the time to put a Chapter 5 teaser as well, because it's about time to drop some Chapter 5 teasers. Boogeyman Toilet threw in another one. Thank you. I think you've done 4 today. I don't know why it's not giving me a number for you. But you threw another 10. Thank you. Why aren't Puppet King and Darkstar in the Super Dark Deception chapters menu? Will the new Murder Monkeys model and Enhanced Plus have a significant design change? Are any OSTs currently out for Fear Fortress? Okay, question 1. Puppet King and Darkstar are not in Super Dark Deception's chapters menu. That is correct. Right now, it is still set up for the old kind of wireframe, which was 10 levels. That's just something that, Dark Deception's been in development. Super Dark Deception's been in development for a while. That was prior to our change, and we didn't really change it for Chapter 1. Chapter 2 updates that and adds in Darkstar and Puppet King's level into the replay mode. So you'll see the slot for them as well. It'll be 12 slots. Let me see. Second question, will the new Murder Monkeys model and Enhanced Plus have a significant design change? It's kind of still familiar as far as design. Obviously, we don't want to change the Murder Monkeys iconic kind of design. We want to improve it. So we've simply improved it to where it's much more detailed and more a bit scarier looking than previously. But as far as the actual look, he still looks like the Murder Monkey. It's not going to change that. And as far as any OSTs currently being out for Fear Fortress, yes, there's several. I'll let you guess which ones they are because it's a list. Just to name a few, Hollow Reflections is one. What's the other one? Evil Gathers, I think it's called. There's also the corporate track is also from Fear Fortress. So there's a few tracks, at least 5 or 6 tracks out that are all related to Fear Fortress. Andreas Gustavo threw in another 10 reals. Thank you. How many endings will Dark Deception have? 6. Have you worked on the achievements? No. Still working on those. How many are there? Likely going to be about... See, I think typically for achievements, we'll usually do 15 to 30 achievements. So it's going to be within that range. Fear Fortress is going to be 1/3 of the chapter or 1/3 of the whole game. 1/3 of the chapter, 1/3 of chapter 5. How long is chapter 5 without and with cutscenes? We haven't really timed it, so I'm not going to announce the time length of chapter 5 yet until I've had a better, more accurate picture of it. But I'll share that soon in the near future. Autumn Azure threw in 2. Which monster had the hardest AI to make? Why? I'm guessing you mean out of the entire game. So at this point, probably Puppet King, just because he has so many Red Stalker variants and they all behave differently. Plus, Puppet King has some of his own very unique AI. So at this point, I would say Puppet King's AI was the hardest to make and bug fix. Virtual Man threw in 20. Thank you again. For Dark Deception Enhanced, will other levels get updates similar to the Spider Clowns being in CC? Example, will there be any new traps in Barely Buried such as stalagmite spikes or swinging boulders? Just bear traps is a bit bland, no offense. We're not changing the gameplay of Dark Deception levels, so no. All of the updates are purely visual, so that's a lot of lighting, model fixes, character model fixes. We do add additional elements like spider clowns. So there are some levels where we add additional gameplay if we felt like there was something missing. In that sense, we always felt like spider clowns should have been in Crazy Carnival, so we added it in. But as far as like additional traps and things of that nature, we're pretty happy with our traps. Obviously, some fans will disagree with that. They have their own opinions. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But in large part, the game will remain as it is. What we are adding is additional story. So to kind of tie in as we ramped up the story to chapter 5, it did create some plot holes in chapter 1, 2, and 3 that we had to kind of address and fill. So to tie everything together nicely, we've added additional story. You've kind of seen that a little bit with Super Dark Deception with the E-Note cutscenes and some of Doug's kind of typewriter segments where now he sees like some visuals with his lines, such as the comparison between Tammy and Agatha, stuff like that we're kind of adding in. So it adds a bit more. It's almost like a director's cut of chapters 1 through 4 in that it adds new content, new visuals, better models. Some fixes are minor, some are major. But overall, it's going to be a much better game than what you're currently playing. So the chapter 1 through chapter 4 update will improve those chapters and Dark Deception as a whole a lot to match up to chapter 5. So that when you're playing through chapter 1 through 4, it won't feel like this quality update or upgrade progression as you go through the chapters, whereas chapter 1 feels very different from chapter 5. It kind of unifies everything and ties it together so it feels like one cohesive game. Unicat Ingest threw in another 5. Impastor asks, why did you keep the Prison's Return for the remaster a secret for so long when it's been a concept since the 2015 Kickstarter? Prison's Return. Oh, the prison that you're talking about for the Kickstarter a long, long time ago was very, very different from Darkstar's prison. Yes, they're both prisons, but it's almost like a complete redesign from scratch without any reference to the previous one. In fact, the concept existed on paper for that, but it was never designed out. And it was more of a traditional prison. Probably something more in common with the Suffering than what Prison Panic currently is. Like they're completely different. Grandom Rye through in 5. Thank you, Grandom. Again, how does one send a delivery of one nest filled with live penguin to a time period that's already passed? Asking just purely out of curiosity. How does one send a delivery of one nest filled with a live penguin? I don't know what that reference is. I'm trying to, like, did I put a penguin with a nest in Dark Deception? The only thing, uh, the only reference to penguins in Dark Deception at the moment is with Tammy and her obsession with them. So I don't know how to answer that one. I'm sorry. Uh, but thank you for the support. I appreciate it. Maybe later in the member chat or in email, you can kind of explain to me better what you meant by that. But I got to move on for now. Okay. James Smith, €2. Thank you. He says, does Dark Star fart? No, she does many things, but she will not fart in the game. Sorry to disappoint you. I know that was a tough one to cut. It was high on our list of Dark Star interactions, but we just had to, cut for time. I apologize. Wait for the director's cut someday. Maybe we'll get that in. Let's see. Anonymous fan through in 2. What is the Coma DLC trap time? All right. So the Coma DLC trap time is basically the spirits that inhabit the Dokebi market. So there's like some evil kind of entities around that you can be attacked by. If you've ever played the Coma 2, they have these traps around. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the actual name for them, but they're like arms and stuff that come out. They also have kind of exploding poison gas, but right now we're kind of going with the arms. So they can inflict damage on you if you get within their reach and trigger them to wake up. Autumn Azure through another 2. When do you begin making a Dark Deception game? Or sorry. When do you begin making a Dark Deception game in your career? When did I begin? I hope I'm interpreting this right. I think you're asking, like, when did I start Dark Deception? Well, the actual idea and concept I created in 2013, late 2013. And then I released a kind of really early VR Unity demo of it in March 2014. Since it was literally... No, I won't say that. Silent Hill 3 had a mascot before us, but I'm pretty sure we were the first kind of modern mascot horror game out at that time. So it caught on pretty fast because there was kind of a subconscious desire for that kind of game, obviously, as you can see now. And but fans hadn't really seen it before. And then, a few months later, FNAF came into existence. So Dark Deception and FNAF were kind of the first two. But that was like a very early, like really crappy version of Dark Deception. And it was built in Unity, and it kind of died, and we left it kind of dead for a few years until 2018. So in my mind, Dark Deception, at least what it is now, started in 2018. So if people ask me when did Dark Deception begin, even though I designed it and came up with the idea in 2013, I usually would just say 2018 because that's when this game came to life, this version that's in Unreal, which is, the accurate representation of Dark Deception. But I'll always kind of acknowledge the past history. It's just, for me, it really began in 2018. Astro through in 5. Thank you, Astro. Are you still planning on putting out Enhanced Plus this year? So yeah, Dark Deception chapters 1 through 4. the enhanced version, or the enhanced plus, as the fans are kind of calling it. I just call it, yeah, chapters 1 through 4 enhanced plus update will come in 2024. But currently, just looking at the amount of time and some of the stuff that we still need to do to complete it. So I still need to do some recordings with Chris J. Alex for the Joy Joy Gang, because there's some new cutscenes with the Joy Joy Gang that I still don't have the voice lines for, so I have to do a little recording with him. And I'm not sure exactly how fast that'll get done. So we're looking at, for 2024, definitely the update comes out on Steam. So Steam players, which is, the majority of our all of our players at the moment, other than Epic Game Store, we'll get that update. As far as the consoles, I had wanted to get the consoles out in 2024 as well, and it seemed very doable. But, porting to consoles takes about 1 to 3 months. One is best case scenario. Usually there's a few fixes to do, things that the QA teams flag that you have to fix, and it usually takes about 2 months. So I can't guarantee it will reach in time to go out in 2024 on, PlayStation, Xbox, Switch. And really, Switch isn't powerful enough to run Dark Deception. So it's much more likely Switch 2. So our focus would be getting it out on Xbox Series SX, PlayStation 5, and PlayStation 4. Xbox One and Switch are kind of big question marks, because it's kind of obvious at this point that they're not powerful enough to run Dark Deception. So it's very possible that could slide into January 2025 for the console versions. But regardless, it's going to be pretty soon. I would say all of it is within the next 4 to 5 months that we get the chapters 1 through 4 update out, and everybody gets to enjoy that. But the Steam version will definitely come 2024. Let's see. Sora is king through in 5. Thank you. And this is their 20th super on a live stream. So thank you. Hey Vince, will the end of chapter 5 have a secret ending post-credits scene? If so, how crazy will it be 1 to 10? Oh, that's definitely a secret ending. Oh yeah, it will. Actually, our credits will have secret cutscenes. So don't skip the credits at the end of chapter 5. You'll miss some cool stuff. We're kind of doing the Marvel thing where we put some additional cutscenes at the end of the credits. So yeah, watch it all the way, and it's definitely a 10 for those, as they kind of tie into Dark Deception chapter 2. See, Autumn Azura threw in another 2. How do you settle on a monster and level design? Well, I mean, the level is usually dictated by what's happening in the story script, what the environment calls for, and then from there, since I design all the levels and all the monsters, I will kind of just go through a process of, based on the idea, what type of nightmare it is, which nightmare creature or monster is suited to that, and then I'll just kind of go through and do, rough out some designs. I usually do like 30 to 50 different designs, and kind of bounce those off my teammates and see which ones they like, and I'll kind of flesh it out from there, and eventually it becomes the final design. Kind of the same for our levels. I'll if in the story it says, hey, this takes place in a mall, I'll kind of flesh out a few roughs, do a few roughs of what I think a mall should look like, pick the ones that I like best, bounce those off my team members and see what they like, measure it against what I like, and kind of flesh it out to a final design from there. So that's just kind of how I work for everything to reach the final designs. Grandom Rye threw in another 5. Thank you, Grandom. This is your 10th super as well. That's impressive. Thank you. What was the idea to give Mama Bear a little Muppet hand in her boss form? In fact, how does a hand even grow teeth anyways? Well, Mama Bear is a shapeshifter, so she can do pretty much any form she wants, although that wasn't fully explored in Chapter 4. It's explored a bit more in Chapter 5. So I guess since she works with kids so much, she just kind of has a childlike impression for things. So the little hand puppet, the Muppet hand, you know, that's just her style, I guess, how she thinks things should be. See, Unicat and Ingest threw another 10, and this one is for Possession Wind. She asks, will Detective Evans be one of the prisoners you can interact with, or is he non-canon in the DD universe? If he's non-canon, do you think that'll ever change? Um, at this point, Detective Evans is non-canon. He's just something I kind of acknowledge, a character that I acknowledge as a tribute to those 2013, 2014 Dark Deception years, because he was the protagonist in that early version of Dark Deception. Later, he was replaced with Doug Hauser. But I want to kind of pay tribute to him because those early years kind of set up the success of Dark Deception in 2018. It's like without the success of the Dark Deception Unity demo, not as many people would have cared when we released the 2018 version. So that's just my way of paying tribute to that previous history. As far as him becoming canon, it's possible. We do have some plans that are for Detective Evans that are currently in progress. It is still non-canon, but I think he's a character that will kind of continue to pay tribute to and acknowledge. But as far as becoming canon, I'm not sure yet. I don't. He's not the protagonist of Dark Deception 2. I'll put it that way. See, Alp through another 2001. Thank you, Alp. Does Darkstar have more than 2 types of minions? Yes. White Penguin through in 2. Thank you. If you can say, when is Dark Deception 1 through 4 coming to PS5? Well, just in case you didn't hear the previous response to a super chat, a few super chats back. Yes, it is coming to PS5, but it's not a given. It's not 100% that it's going to come in 2024. It's probably safest bet is January or February 2025, like very early 2025. And that's largely because of the one, like I say 1 month, but that's very, very rare. It's usually 2 to 3 months porting process to go from the Steam version to PS5 and get it approved by Sony. So even if we submit it, in October, it may not get approved until January. So that's kind of the reason for that. So I would just bet on like February as the maximum for the console versions of chapters 1 through 4. And then just like Steam, when it does go to console, it's going to be basically Dark Deception complete. You'll pay for the whole game up front, and then later we'll update the Chapter 5 content into it so that you have the entire game. And because of that, the way Sony works, probably the game will give 5 platinum trophies because they... is it 5? Yeah, it may be set up that way per chapter. Wow, that's crazy. Like one gives 5 platinums. I mean, it's probably going to be 3 to 5 platinums for that game based on how they divide up the content within the game. Autumn Azure threw in $2. Are the TV heads Darkstar's fans? TV heads. Oh, okay. So the TV heads, I haven't really gone into that at all as far as what those are. And it's not a huge spoiler, but definitely not something I want to reveal at this time. So I will kind of talk about the TVs at some point in the near future in 2024, but not yet. So I have to give you the you'll see response for now. But at least I think you'll get the answer pretty soon in the near future, in the coming months. Lofabri threw in 2. Thank you, Lofabri. Does Malik know Puppet King isn't happy with his status? Yes, Malik has awareness of all of his employees. He knows their strengths and weaknesses. So yes, he's aware of Puppet King's discontent, if you could call it that. You see, Colton Turbville through in 10. Thank you, Colton. I know the stages aren't based on the 9 circles, but the stages up to the mall match the circles while the prison in Malek's realm represent the devil. You could make that comparison, yes. I've actually been asked that question a few times, as far as like the 9 circles or the stages of hell. Um, I think they do kind of line up, although that wasn't intentional and it wasn't directly influenced by that. We did base I did base some of my influence on the 7 deadly sins, which are also relevant to the stages of hell. So it kind of makes sense that there'd be similarities because we kind of draw from the same deadly sins. Obviously, we've expanded on that. It's not so strictly adhering to that kind of traditional biblical definition. This one is a much more modernized take, I guess. It's not really based on religion or anything of that. It's kind of like an open, um, kind of minimalized interpretation of it. And we expand to kind of more modern concepts like, the clowns and trolling and some more modern issues that kind of expand to other types of sins. And even I don't really I don't really limit the characters just to purely sins. There's many things that kind of influence the demons and how they behave, how they are born. It goes beyond that. It's just kind of negativity and I guess negativity as a whole, rather than just the sins of actions. But that's all explained a lot better in chapter 5, and you'll kind of see what I mean as you go through the story and get a lot more of the context. See, Jonathan Fontnot threw in 2. Thank you, Jonathan. And this is your first super on a live stream, so that's cool. There will be Steam Workshop on Dark Deception. I don't know yet if we're going to do Steam Workshop support. It's definitely something, once, chapter 5's out, I'll look into. And I'll definitely kind of get the community's feedback on that and how we could maybe add Steam Workshop support and have it have actual value for the game, like it contributes. So yeah, I think that's very possible, especially if chapter 5, does really well and Dark Deception continues to do well. We will have kind of the resources to assist with that. We'll see how we can factor that in. It's just not something I've planned for yet, but it's kind of something I've always been kind of cognizant of and aware, thinking about. So yeah, we do want to add that at some point. We're just not sure how to best utilize that. So you have UBF 13 through and 2. Thank you, UBF. How many trailers will there be for chapter 5? Well, there's going to be a really big one. The first one, that's going to be the big reveal. We have some really cool people involved with that I haven't revealed yet. Some special guests, we'll put it that way. And I would guess 2. I don't think we need more than 2 trailers for that. So it'll probably just be 2 official trailers. One to kind of really get people hyped when it's not too far away, and then one the week of release that just kind of expands on what the first trailer shows. Autumn Azur threw in another 2. Thank you, Autumn Azur, again. Which level are you most excited to see people play? I mean, I'm excited to see people play all of them, but probably I think the first level, holiday horror, the mall level, just because, it's been so long since chapter 4. I'm really excited to see their first impression of chapter 5, and that's the first thing they're going to see, the first level they're going to play, just so they can see how much it's evolved from chapter 4. So I think that first reaction is going to be the most precious one to me, to see how they feel about stepping into the Dark Deception world again and seeing like how different it is. And I think the chapter 1 through 4 update will kind of give them a hint of that and kind of, make what's old new again. But I'm really excited to see that first impression, to see how it hits them. Because honestly, I think it'll be fun to watch them play every level in Chapter 5. I don't really have like a specific favorite. You could easily say Fear Fortress just because it's the biggest and the most complex, and it has the biggest moments, but I think they're all really fun. Sorry, finding my place. Okay, Shayla threw in 5 Canadian. Thank you, Shayla. Hello, glad to see you've recovered well. Are there other things that easy mode does besides make the levels easier? Um, well, we're kind of playing with that, like with Super Dark Deception. We kind of tease a little bit with the easy mode. We want it to be very playable. Those are for the people who just want to see the story and get through it. But we also want to kind of tease them a little bit for going with the easy mode and avoiding the challenge. So we created a special ending for them. It's not like a mocking thing or anything. It's just kind of a fun, um, easy mode, kind of cozy game ending. Like even the ending is cozy. So we thought about doing that with Dark Deception as well. But other than that, its main job is to make the game playable for people who just want to see the story. So as far as anything additional than easy, no, it's just kind of makes the game a lot easier to get through for people who are less focused on gameplay, and then it gives them a unique ending for going with easy mode. That's probably it. Thank you for your support again, Shayla. All right. Next is Lonely Mage through in 2. Thank you, Lonely Mage, again. Multiple contributions. Can you give any hints on the new Monsters and Mortals, or sorry, not Monsters and Mortals, Mascot Mayhem intro? Um, oh, I see what you mean. Okay, so the Mascot Mayhem, what we've done with that is expanded on one, the entrance area. So a lot of feedback we got from fans was that the introduction with Lucky and Penny was too short, and then later fans kind of did their own version of it with like Animatronic Atrocity, I think it's called, where they had like a big show. And we kind of decided to do an introduction. It's not like that one, the Animatronic Atrocity one, just because, we don't want to show hangry at that point, but we felt like we should do more of an introduction with Lucky and Penny, to where they kind of mess with the player a little bit more before going into the maze. Whereas right now, it's kind of, you see them, they do a little talk or do a little dance, and then boom, you're right in the maze. And it's not really a lot of a transition between that and actually getting into gameplay. You're just kind of thrown into it. So I wanted to kind of build on that and give a little bit more interaction with Lucky and Penny, where you kind of realize like, something's not right with them. They're not normal mascots, and that maybe they're up to no good. And then the other cutscene is another fan request, is that you have a self-destruct sequence that you really never got to see the conclusion of. In fact, in the fact that you kind of run out of the castle and then you encounter Joykill, and then everything kind of progresses from there. But we want to kind of put a conclusion stamp on everything, as far as what happened to Joyland, that they were ready to blow up, and just other little interactions with them. So it's more about like, it doesn't add any big new story pieces to Mascot Mayhem. There weren't really any plot holes tied to Chapter 5 for that. It's more about fleshing out the experience of Chapter 4's Mascot Mayhem and making it, one, more fun, and two, just fleshing out the Joy gang and their interactions more, to make it feel like a more dynamic experience. Same thing with the Joykill fight. As far as his appearance and then his destruction and reappearance, we've kind of fleshed that out a little bit more, added a few little extra tidbits to it. So it's something of that nature. Remember, this isn't like a remake. It's just like a enhancement. So basically, we listened to the fans and we kind of answered some of their early requests that we never really addressed. Boogeyman Toilet threw in another 5. Thank you again, Boogeyman. Will Chapter 5 have any teaser trailers or only a launch trailer? Will Crownless King play for both boss parts in Holiday Horror or only one? So yeah, that kind of ties back to the previous question. There will be 2 trailers, one to kind of do some early hype, and then one that's pretty much the launch trailer. So there'll be 2. You could, I don't know if there'll be any teaser trailers. I'm trying to think of like what we could throw for that. I originally had planned to throw out like a 10-second kind of teaser YouTube short, and that's still possible. I might do that, but it's not a given, so it's not like a promise or anything. It's just something I might do. I could surprise you with it. It's kind of a you'll see item, but we're definitely doing the 2 official trailers. Crownless King play for both boss parts in Holiday Horror, only one. Crownless King only plays for the final boss fight. Let's see, Autumn Azure threw in another 2. Thank you, Autumn. Are you able to reveal when we'll get trailers yet? No, of course not. Definitely you'll see answer for that one. Can't do anything with a release date yet. Santame threw in €2. Thank you, Santame. Why does Malik sound different on Stranger Sewers? Does he? Same voice actor. It's nothing different. It's the same guy. But you know, everybody interprets things differently. Maybe it could be his speaking mannerisms. For I assume you're talking about the ending cutscene before Doom Ducky. But yeah, same actor. Let's see. Andreas Gustavo threw in 10 reals. Thank you again. That's 3rd super, so awesome to have your support. How did Joy Kill survive the lava? He didn't. There's multiple Joy Kills. Just as there's multiple Lucky, Penny, and Hangry clones. It's kind of like when you cut off the head of a Hydra, another one grows back. That's pretty much Lucky in a nutshell. Will the Chapter 5 teaser be like the Chapter 4 ones? Well, I can't commit to a teaser, but the trailer will be like the Chapter 4 one, but just bigger and better. What's your favorite level in the game without counting Chapter 5? Favorite level in the game? It'd probably be Barely Buried or Mascot Mayhem, I think. Just those 2. But trying to think. Yeah, probably those 2. I think I obviously could go with either one. It's kind of a stalemate. Don't really have a strong favorite between them. I just like both those levels. What's your favorite Chapter 5 level? Favorite Chapter 5 level, definitely Fear Fortress. Boogeyman Toilet threw in 10. Thank you, Boogeyman. Since Puppet King uses his strings to control others, will one of the new powers relate to mind control? Can you tell us one small sentence in the Chapter 5 script out of context for fun? Good try, but no, I can't. I can't tell any lines from the Chapter 5 script yet. But as far as your first question, will one of the new powers relate to mind control? No, it doesn't. It is one of Puppet King's powers that you obtain, but it's not his ability to control. It's a different one of his abilities. Okay, Unicat Ninjas threw in 5. Malik's been so mean to Doug, and now he looks like a carrot and is getting surgery to turn back to a potato. Not a human, but a potato bro. Costs in a shitload of dollars. A lot. There you go. I just earned the not for kids label with that one. All right, Unicat, you're back in true form. Thank you for support. I know you've sent like a ton of supers. I don't know why it doesn't put any number next to you. I don't know what this new YouTube feature is. I don't think it's new. It's the first time I've seen this where it's popping up numbers next to each super chat, telling me how many super chat they've donated. But some of the people who donate the most super chats don't have a number, so it's strange. Maybe it's kind of buggy at this point. 1 second. Did another jump right as I said that. Oh, we got a lot of super chats to get through. Adam Azur threw in two. Another two. Thank you again for all your contributions. What are the ins and outs of developing a dark deception game? A lot of patience. Tons of patience. That's number one. Because I think if I didn't care, dark deception would be a lot easier to make because I could just slap in a bunch of store-bought levels and dug in and just throw a bunch of shards in and like slap a monster in there, and it'd be probably like 80% of the indie horror games that get out. That's kind of what they do. They buy like an asset pack level, buy like a monster model, and then just throw them together and have the monster chase you. That could be done in like 2 weeks. But since we want this to be good, it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of work. And I think I'm kind of my harshest critic as far as dark deception. So a lot of times I'm constantly trying to improve our work that we've done while making what we haven't done better. And because I wanna the dark deception community is very good at enduring. So I know that you all have to wait, and I want to make it worth the wait. So we want this to be the best product possible, and that requires a lot of work. There's no shortcuts to that. There's no dancing around it. You can't make a great game without putting in a lot of work. So I think as far as developing a dark deception game, you just got to be fully committed and ready to do a lot of work and commit to a high quality level. No shortcuts. That means making great character models, designing great characters, doing great environments, really getting detailed environments in, and making a story that people remember, like doing things a little bit different than maybe would be probably a little bit more popular if you went a different way. We want to make a story that's really unique and stands out, and there's nothing like it. So that's kind of what I'm focused on with my writing and the designs and stuff. So yeah, that's it, and simplified, I guess, like overly simplified down to that level to kind of fit it in a way that I can say quickly. But there's a lot to it than that. Other things like maze design and scale and different factors. Making games is never easy. So I always have a lot of respect for anybody that can make a game from scratch and get it out and get it released, whether it's a success or not. That's the realization of a goal is to start that journey and finish it and get your game out and get your product out. And it's something that you actually made. It's not all, bought from a store. Sorry, YouTube did the skip again, so I got to find my place one more time. Okay, Croco64 threw in £5. Dark Disillusion is very much liked in the community and could definitely be something that can be published. I'd pay $15 for the game already. Well, we only need like 1,000 more of you, and then that would be a start. So I can tell Dark Dissolution has a lot of people very passionate about it. I think it's one of the better supported Dark Deception fan games in the Dark Deception community. So it doesn't surprise me. I don't know how many chapters they plan to do to complete it, but whenever it's done, it'll be fun to play through it and see how they did. So I have definitely got that one on my radar, along with the kart racing game and I think Animatronic Atrocity, which I've never got to fully play. I don't even know if they're done with it yet. I think it was still in progress last time I saw it, but it had like a pretty cool cutscene on a train with Lucky. So, yeah, something we can catch up on in a future live stream probably. Shadow X Acno through in 5. Are you aware that the GE store is broken to where people cannot purchase the novel? For some reason, it keeps saying processing error. No, I'm not aware of that. We've had orders coming in still. I wonder if it's affected for certain countries or there's a variety of factors. It's working for some people, but if you say it's broken for others, something I can look into. The store is basically using Shopify as the purchase system. So I'm no Shopify expert, but I can look into and talk with their team and see if they can see those issues happening, and hopefully they can fix it. So it's good at least that the store is still functional, that we're getting orders still. But thank you for bringing that to my attention because I wasn't aware that some people were having issues. I'll look into that. See, Andreas Gustavo, 10 Royales. Can you share anything about demon mode? Will it be just an enemy AI changes or something more? Is the OST Psycho a boss theme? All right, let me start in the beginning and kind of go through them one by one. Okay, so for the demon mode, will it be anything besides enemy AI changes or something more? Demon mode is more, so it will be not just AI changes, it's gameplay changes and game design changes as far as the conditions. Also as far as the saving system. So it's pretty extreme. And it also has its own unique ending, kind of like easy mode. So the only two modes that have unique endings are easy mode and demon mode. Normal and hard are just standard endings. But both endings for those modes are non-canon. So it's not the true authentic canon ending. There's only one, and that's for all modes. And then the next question is the OST Psycho a boss theme? No, it's a pursuit theme. And last question, is Dark Deception 2 going to be called Darker Deception? No, we don't have a finalized title for Dark Deception 2 yet. I'm just going to keep referring to it as Dark Deception 2. And Wicked Ways is the final level for Chapter 5. Shayla, we have another contribution from Shayla. Thank you again, 5 Canadian. Are the clown spiders in the CC boss fight going to be permanent additions or available on certain modes? They are permanent for all modes. Shadow X, Anonymous Fan threw in 2 again. Thank you again. And any Piggy updates? As far as the Piggy Monsters Immortals DLC, no. It's something we have kind of in the background right now until the Coma 2 DLC goes out, which will be going out first, probably, my guess is somewhere in October. So Monsters Immortal fans have something coming very soon that they can look forward to, as well as the Monsters Immortals release on consoles. Unicat Ninjas threw in another 5. She has another question for one of her friends. DD West asks, will there be any prison guards and police cars in Prison Panic? Yes, prison guards, yes. Police cars, no. And because of the title Yard Time, is there a zone that is a prison yard? Yes. It's not a zone, it's an area. Let's see. Kataro Kujo threw in South Korean 100. Thank you. Or Sec 100. Hello, Vincent. I've been a fan since the old days of 2014 Dark Deception, and I was wondering if you would allow us to recreate the 2014 version with everything we currently have, like a fan game. Yeah, actually, I saw somebody was already doing that. I don't know if that's you, if you're involved with that, but saw somebody was trying to recreate it in Unreal, I think it was, which I thought was funny. I'm actually interested to try that out because, you know, the original Unity game was a mess. I would like to see if they've kept that messiness intact, if that's kind of part of the joke. But yeah, I think they're already doing that. If you're not involved with that, you might want to go contact them and check it out. UBF 13 threw in another 5. Thank you, UBF. Will there be police cars in Prison Panic? No. Does Darkstar have her own band since she's a pop star? Yes. She has her own kind of music thing going. That's why we have a lot of tracks with vocals. Santa May threw in 2. Let's see. Oh, €2. Thank you. And said, glad you're better. Which level was most fun to make? Definitely Fear Fortress. Just because it has the most variety. And also, thank you. I'm glad to feel a little better to where I can sit in front of the monitor and not look like a corpse. Let's see. Unicat Ninjas threw another 5 for asking for another person. Hypersalt asks, will will Dark Star be the boss of Prison Panic, and will Doug be present for the war between evils? Let's see. Yes, Darkstar is the boss of Prison Panic, and as far as the war between evils, yeah, Doug does get to bear witness to kind of the situation in the Nightmare Realms that's unfolding throughout Chapter 5. He is a factor. Landon Boyce threw in 5. Thank you, Landon. And this is your 3rd super chat, so awesome. Thank you for supporting. How long do you think it'll take people to beat Chapter 5 all levels? Will Dark Deception get Steam cards like Super Dark Deception? Well, to answer the second question first, because it's the easiest, no, unfortunately. So Super Dark Deception, the reason Super Dark Deception is able to have Steam cards is because it is a paid game. So from the moment it released, it was paid. You had to pay money to play it. For some reason, with Dark Deception, Valve says it cannot have Steam cards because it was a free game to start. So they don't do Steam games or Steam trading cards for free games unless those free games have a lot of in-app purchases. So if Chapter 1 had a lot of microtransactions, then I would be allowed to have Steam trading cards. Obviously, Chapter 1 doesn't have any microtransactions inside of Chapter 1. Like, pay me $2 to see the murder monkeys wear soldier uniforms, something like that. Then they would let me have Steam trading cards. But since it doesn't monetize at all, they won't allow it. So yeah, Dark Deception unfortunately can't have trading cards because of that. So we're kind of, that's kind of like maybe a mistake we made this time because we didn't know. But for Dark Deception 2, we're kind of aware of that now, so we'll do things differently so that Dark Deception 2 can have Steam trading cards because we like those. We think they're cool. You know, we had to do that in the beginning because we were starting out. Now people know who we are. They know who what Dark Deception is. We don't need to do that anymore. If we do chapter-based for Dark Deception 2, which I'm not committed to yet, but I may do it, the first chapter won't be free. It'll be paid. That way we can do Steam trading cards. I will say something for Dark Deception 2. If we do go the episodic route again with chapters, I'll probably take the Super Dark Deception approach and do less chapters. Like I think I don't want to ever do more than 3 chapters again. Like I think that's kind of a sweet spot. It's like 3 chapters, um, and then in each chapter can have more content. We'll see. Three. I think 3 sounds good. Maybe 4 at max. Sorry, I'm trying to find my place again. Okay, I'm back. Shadow X Acno threw in another 2. Thank you, Shadow. If Wicked Ways is level 13, what is level 11 through 12? Well, I'm not going to reveal anything that you haven't revealed with the data mining of Super Dark Deception. So, uh, level 11 is Fear Fortress. Level 12, the 12th portal, is a surprise. You'll see for that one. It's not in the well, it wasn't in the Super Dark Deception files that they data mined, so they weren't able to reveal that because I haven't put it into Super Dark Deception. So that one's going to remain a secret. But you already know 11, Fear Fortress, and you know 13, Wicked Ways. See, Jackson threw in 10. Thank you, Jackson. Hey, Vince, do you have any marketing plans for Dark Deception Chapter 5 to expand the audience of Dark Deception? I feel like Dark Deception is incredibly underrated and has such small audience for being such a high-quality game. I guess you could call Dark Deception niche if you compare it to games like Five Nights at Freddy's or Poppy Playtime that have had much larger reaches because of the popularity on YouTube. But you know, those games have reached such a large audience because they cater to a specific group, and they have a specific theme. That's something that Dark Deception doesn't really cater to, thus it has like a smaller audience. So I'm fine. I'm not really trying to have the most massive audience possible. I mean, I want to make Dark Deception expand its reach, but I want to do so without compromising what Dark Deception is. So yeah, we have some really cool marketing plans for Chapter 5. Obviously, going out on more than one platform will help expand Dark Deception's audience a lot. You know, being only on Steam isn't great for it. We want to reach console players, people that are console only. We want to reach mobile players, people that only play on mobile. So there's a lot of people who haven't experienced Dark Deception yet, and thankfully, you know, by the time we get to them, they'll get to experience the best version of Dark Deception, the complete version. They won't have to wait for any content. It will all be there. So, and it will still be new because Chapter 5 is new. So they get to play something that's new. It's not like 4 years old. And they get to be part of that discussion that happens when it releases. So that will help bring a lot of new people in. I find a lot of people come into new series, not in the beginning, but like later on after like 1 or 2 movies are out, or 3 movies, or multiple games. They'll finally discover the franchise like on the 3rd or 4th game. That's just kind of how it is. Some people are slow to get in and find out about things, and it's really the Dark Deception community that helps us spread the word, that helps bring in new people. You know, introduce them to Dark Deception, show them why it's such a fun game. Don't be toxic. You know, that drives people away from the fandom. Be welcoming, be kind, all those things. And that will make people more interested to play and try the game. I think the good thing is, even though we're called niche, Dark Deception is very highly successful. You know, it's already sold hundreds of thousands, millions of copies. So I think we're considered niche to the top 3 games, I think, but Dark Deception's easily in the top 5 as far as sales, audience size. So it has a lot of potential, and that's why people want to partner with us. You know, if our audience was very small, we couldn't get Silent Hill to partner with us, or some of these big brands that we have coming up that I can't announce yet, tell you about right now. And that's what's really cool, is when your fan base is bigger and you have more support, it opens doors to really cool collaborations. Things like, look how long it took FNAF to get Dead by Daylight, and they needed a movie to do it. And the movie brought in new fans. It brought in more people to their audience. Because, for a while, Five Nights at Freddy's was always very loyal and dedicated, but it kind of was getting stagnant. And it didn't seem like their audience was growing, and it almost seemed like it was shrinking. And then, they put out some new games with Steel Wool, um, the Help VR game, and then the movie dropped, and that's all it took to expand the audience. All it takes is a big release like that to bring in a wave of new people, and then we can do a lot of cool new things. So I'm very confident in Dark Deception. I know we can continue to make it amazing, and that will, if you have fun characters, strong story, fun gameplay, and an interesting world, that will draw in people. They will want to play it and try it out, and they will be happy with what they play. So I think Dark Deception sells itself. It definitely has room to be better. It definitely has room to be improved. And that's something we'll continue to work on. But I think we've built a good product. We've built a good game. And it just needs to get more eyes and get in front of more people. And then they will kind of see that as they see more videos of it and see other people playing it. So I'm not too worried about that. I'm more worried about we finish things the right way and we send the first game out with a big bang that makes people really see the potential of it. And then we build off that into Dark Deception 2. So we have big plans for Dark Deception. It's not going to slow down. It's only going to get faster from here. Autumn Azura threw in 5. Thank you, Autumn. Oh, sorry, misread that. It was Unicat. Unicat Ninjas threw in 5. Thank you, Unicat. I haven't had my coffee yet. You can see this is like how I am prior to coffee versus after coffee. Are you okay? The camera's not focusing. Gorilla's shaking it. Bug Eye stops. Oh, great. Getting Jawal. I can't even read this. Hospital quick. Oh, yeah. My camera is not that stable, so it may shake a little. Sorry if that makes anybody have like motion sickness a little bit. It just kind of happens unintentionally. The little clamp on my camera is not that secure, so it kind of moves with the table as I lean on it. So apologies if it's shaking a bit for some people. See, Dark Deception Dill threw in 5. Hi, Vince. Hope you're doing well. Is there any chance of releasing any instrumental versions of Prison Panic tracks? No, I think for the most part, I'm kind of going to keep Prison Panic tracks secret until release, just because I want them to be kind of a fun surprise when people reach the level. So I'm not going to spoil that. Let's see, Lisa Alred threw in 2. Do the monsters enjoy working under Malik? Some of them do, some of them don't. They all have various opinions, just like real life employees in a company. And that's what I want it to feel like as they go through the game, is that it has a lot of similarities to a human corporation. Jackson threw in 5, 5th super chat. Thank you, Jackson. Do you guys have a playtesting team for Chapter 5? Bugs have always been a huge issue with the game, and I personally care a lot about polish in games. Yeah, we have a much larger playtesting team for Chapter 5. It's a much larger game. We also care about polish, but I think you've seen with modern games that it's impossible to eliminate all bugs prior to release. It's just, as soon as you put a game out, as soon as you export it, new bugs appear. Usually that's due to, it's a strong connection to the various devices, various hardware. There's a lot of bugs built into game engines as well. Unity, Unreal both have a lot of bugs they haven't fixed. And they can break at any time when you package and export your game. So things may work perfectly. You think it's completely bug-free. You package and export it, and boom, stuff breaks for no reason. And then you have to fix it. It's just seems to be a fact of life at this point with these game engines. And you can see that. It's not just an indie thing. AAA teams with thousands of people working, some of the best programmers, millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in their budget, and they launch their game broken. I mean, Cyberpunk 2077 is the most famous example, but I've seen it in so many big AAA releases. So even it doesn't matter how much money you throw at it or how many people, it's always going to happen. It's just unavoidable. What you want to fix are the game breaking bugs. You want to make sure there's nothing game breaking at launch. Minor little visual bugs and audio bugs, stuff like that, you can easily fix and patch. But you want to, there's no excuse to go out with game breaking bugs. And that's kind of what we're hoping to avoid with Chapter 5 is make sure that everything works. There's nobody is blocked by bugs from playing the game. SharkFan2 threw in £5. Thank you, SharkFan. Do you need all S ranks and E notes to unlock Wicked Ways? Yes. And if so, what happens if you S rank Wicked Ways? So yeah, Wicked Ways does have a ranking system, but at that point, you've already kind of secured the best ending by going through that. So it does kind of affect the ending a little bit, but at that point, you're already kind of locked on to the canon ending. So it'll just be more for your own satisfaction to get the S rank in Wicked Ways. Let's see, $2 from Unicat Ingest. Thank you again. You can teleport through walls in Super Dark Deception console. Yeah, that's already been fixed in the recent patch if you've already updated. The teleport glitch that people were using to skip story events has been addressed. Let's see, Zian Ni threw in 5. Thank you, Zian. Since Mama Bear and Lucky are also generals, will their personality get more complex too in Chapter 5? Yeah, I think everybody's personality gets more complex except for the simple characters like Murder Monkey. Unicat Ninjas threw in another 5. Thank you, Unicat. And she's asking for Argo 4. Will the 2 new powers be overpowered in previous levels like how the Magnet power is overpowered in Monkey Business? All the powers will be as they're intended to be. Everybody has kind of a different opinion on which powers are overpowered, so we'll leave it at that. Lonely Mage threw in 2. Thank you, Lonely Mage. How big is Lucky's... let's see. Sorry, I was trying to interpret what you mean by that. Oh, all right, man. Not going to read that one. Sorry, I hope you understand. Unicat Ninjas threw in 5. Thank you, Unicat. Vince, you're arrested. We got you running away from... Sorry. Midnight cooking class in Psalm Bulkarit Wellesley, which, by the way, looks like a weird helicopter with a snout. Thank you, Unicat. Appreciate it. I'm going to try to decipher that in a minute. UBF doing 2. Thank you, UBF. Can you reveal the new powers yet? Not yet. I'll probably share those pretty soon, but not yet. Boogeyman Toilet threw in another 10. Thank you, Boogeyman. Have you heard of the Dark Deception brain rot universe called RK Tion, featuring characters like Doe, Borse, Alec, Ultimate Riz, Oi 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 2, Bucky, Griddle Kill, the Being Known, and more? No, I have not. That's the first I've heard of this Dark Deception brain rot universe. Like, where can I see that? I guess I'll look it up. Is that something, is that as a game or is that something somebody put on YouTube? My first thought is that's an animation of some kind. Or is that like a fan fiction? I mean, I'll check it out if somebody tags me with it. It'd be probably hilarious. So I could use a laugh. Andreas Gustavo threw in 2 reals and 5th super chat. So thank you, Andreas. Last question, is one of the powers invincibility? No, Doug doesn't get invincibility from the Nightmare Realms. So that's not one of the 2 new powers. Let's see, Zabuzen threw in 2. Thank you, Zabuzen. Actually, there's two two contributions from Zabzin, one for 2 and one for 5. So the first one, are the white mannequins traps? Some of them are, not all of them. Question number 2, will one of the powers allow us to send a fake us to distract enemies? Let's see. Actually, since you asked it that way, I can kind of share that one. So yes, one of the powers is it's not exactly as you described, but it's similar. So one of the powers is to create a puppet. Thus, you get it from the Puppet King. So Doug will have the ability to create a puppet. You could say that is distracting to the enemies. Let's see, Gaming Scrooge threw in 50 PLN. Thank you, Gaming. What are your thoughts on fan-made DD stories written in Microsoft Word, for example, and sharing it for fun? I'm writing one now, and I'm using characters and locations, but creating a different story. I think non-canon fan fiction is fine, as long as they're not trying to trick the fan base into thinking that it's official and canon. That's okay, and obviously as long as they don't cross any lines and make it like hateful or racist or anything like that, or like pushing weird political ideology or any kind of strange ideology, then it's a positive for the community. If it's anything kind of toxic, then it's probably not something we want connected to Dark Deception. So we'd probably like try to get it removed just so it doesn't like confuse people. But I think if you just want to write a good story and add to the universe with the existing characters, or you want to create some of your own, then that's fine. But yeah, of course, yeah, it's all official, non-official, and non-canon. Zian Nee threw in another 5. Thank you, Zian. Can generals freely command lower ranked demons like monkeys, duckies, gold watchers? They do command lower ranked demons, but they usually have kind of their own. Remember, they're all in the employ of Malik, so they all answer to him. He's their boss. See, Landon Boyce threw in 2. Can we get an update on the DD Collector's Edition? Okay, I think you're talking, what you're referring to is the physical edition. So we do still have a physical Collector's Edition coming. We're working with a specific partner on that right now. We're looking at doing 2 versions. One is a normal physical release that we'll put out in stores across the world in all territories. And the other one is the DD Collector's Edition, which is special. It will be very, very limited because it costs a lot to make. And it will be more expensive than the standard version. So, the standard version will be about probably, I have to remember what they quoted, but it'll be like $30, $40, a bit more than digital because, the production costs of making a physical edition. And then, actually, I don't remember the exact price they gave me. I'll look at it again later. I believe it was somewhere like that, like 30 to 40, or even up to, I don't know if they were adding anything. I think that's just the standard disc by itself, nothing extra. There's another version that comes with like an art book that'll be a bit more, like 50 or 60. And then there's a special collector's edition, which has a lot of stuff in it. And we're still kind of working on that. What's going to be included, and that one will be probably, like, we're trying to find the money, the price tag sweet spot for that, comparing to some other big collector editions that have gone out. It seems to be like between $90 to $120, somewhere in that range, like looking at limited run games and some of those other ones, what they charge. So that one's going to be, purely for people who want really nice collector box editions, and it's going to be very, very limited. Each one will be numbered, and it's going to be a single run. Like, we'll only do that once, so when they're gone, they're gone. Those are people, be the only ones that have those physical copies of Dark Deception, and they will look much, much nicer than the standard edition. So yeah, that is still in progress. Lisa Allred threw in another 5. Thank you, Lisa. Say a guy kills another guy for their money. Would they become a gold watcher or murder monkey? Well, the gold watchers are more about the people. Um, it's more about the rich and wealthy, people that were obsessed with money, who acquired and hoarded vast amounts of wealth, and that was their kind of obsession, which was success and wealth. So you could say it would be like the wealthy, the ultra wealthy. They had to have obtained wealth to have that level of obsession. So murder would kind of supersede the purpose there and that motive that yeah he murdered for money, but I mean unless that person he murdered is carrying $1 billion in their pocket, then it's going to focus on the murder. So murder monkey, especially if it was due to like animalistic rage or anything kind of primal. Unicat Ingest through in 5. Again, thank you again. And another question from Marshall. How's the quality difference between Chapter 4 and Chapter 5? Are the new Beerce lines from from Super Dark Deception going to be added to the base game? Actually, there aren't any new Beerce lines in Super Dark Deception. They're all the same Dark Deception lines. So there's nothing new to add there. And as far as the quality difference between Chapter 4 and Chapter 5, they will tie together really nicely. That's why we're kind of going back and updating the visuals in Chapters 1 through Chapter 4 and adding in the new content and the new story stuff. I think the Chapter 5 levels are a lot more complex than the ones in Chapter 4, so you'll notice that difference. But otherwise, it's still going to feel cohesive and like the same game. Zian Nee threw in 2. Thank you, Zian, again. Can Papa King and Darkstar get along with Agatha? Well, Agatha's not going to be involved in either of those levels. So theoretically, I think they both can get along with Agatha, though Papa King would probably be annoyed by her presence. He's a little bit of a loner. See, Boogeyman Toilet threw in another 2. Thank you. Which OST plays for the first Pup King boss? I think you mean like the mini boss stage. So that one is just pretty much the pursuit track for that zone, for the Zone 1 pursuit track. It will be the same music. Kyoko Kirigiri threw in 10. Thank you, Kyoko. And this is your first chat. Super chat. So thank you very much. Hey, Vince, when making the difficulty for the levels, do you prefer the difficulty to be based on the player's skills, like Deadly Decadence, or RNG, reliant like Hangry is in Zone 2 of Monsters or Mascot Mayhem? We do kind of a mix. Some enemies have a little bit of RNG attached to them, but mostly it's based on player's skill. So characters like Agatha, Gold Watchers, it focuses more on your ability to elude them and know where they're at. Characters like Murder Monkeys always know where you're at. So that one's a little bit more set from the moment you set foot in. It's just based on your skill level to get away from them and to keep moving. It's kind of like Dark Deception rewards you for being quick thinking and quick moving. If you hesitate, if you go slow, if you get confused, then you will kind of be punished for those decisions or that inaction, as Dark Deception enemies don't really have any mercy for that. Let's see, Zabuzen threw another 2. Thank you again, and that's 5 supers. Appreciate it. Will Joy Joy Gang still teleport when a camera spots you? Yes, that hasn't changed. Again, the Chapter 1 through 4 updates are primarily focused on visuals and story. Unicat Ingest threw in another 5. Thank you, Unicat. Says, I don't like Hangry no more. First he cooked ribs. Bad. Then he came over dressed like the String Bean Man, throwing gross barbecue bottles. My face. Yeah, well, I mean, Hangry doesn't cook the ribs bad. He perfects them. He knows how to do his ribs. You got to give him that. The man's got his own barbecue sauce. Landon Boyce threw in two. Can we change how monsters look in Dark Deception? Currently, no. But I think after Chapter 5, one thing we want to add in is, or either after Chapter 5 or with Chapter 5, is add the ability to customize the monsters. So change their outfits. Kind of like we do with Monsters and Mortals already. So you can just kind of change them to some unlocked outfits. We're not sure if that'll be like a DLC pack that you have to buy, or if it's just something that we'll throw in as a thank you to our fans, as a extra option in the equivalent, the Reflection Realms, which is the archive room equivalent in Dark Deception. Like they'd be able to do that in there. It's possible. We just kind of have to see. I mean, if Chapter 5 does really well and Dark Deception's a big success overall, which, I mean, Dark Deception's already a big success, but if Chapter 5 makes it a bigger success, then we could definitely add something like that in. Or we could just treat it like all games treat it and make it as a DLC, and it's just got a bunch of costumes all thrown in. I'm not going to do something crappy like I've seen a lot of games do, fighting games especially, where they sell you like 2 or 3 costumes for $5. It would probably be like cheap price, and you get like every character, like 3 costumes for them, like 30 costumes or something, for like a really low price. Because I mean, at that point, we've already made the money with the game. We don't need to like penny pinch the fans for that too. We want to give them a lot for very little. We'll see which way it goes. Sebastian Gomez threw in 4,000 COP. Thank you. And this is your first super. Awesome. Chapter 5 comes out 2024 or 2025? We actually mentioned that in previous Q&A videos. It's 2025 for Chapter 5. So that will not be happening in 2024. We're focusing on the what we can offer in 2024 is the Chapter 1 through Chapter 4 update. Let's see. Shayla Cazoleas threw in another 2. This is her fifth super. Thank you. Is Darkstar a hypnotist? No, she's not. She doesn't hypnotize you. See, Unicat Ninjas threw in another 5. Chickmunk Teeth. Whoop. I gotta read this slowly. Sorry, Unicat. Chipmunk Teeth Cheeks laughing at you because you try and open a jar of mayonnaise to cook it into frying pan. Your KFC gross. Oh no. You splat. Ugh. How do you think of these things? Thank you, Unicat. I appreciate the contribution again. Shark Fan threw in another 5 pounds. What are the Shard Stash and King of the Monsters game modes for Monster Mortals going to involve? So those 2 modes, well, I don't have the document here to read it off to you, but I can probably post something about those on the Monsters and Mortals Twitter page if you'd like to know. So then you guys can just read it. So I'll do a post up for Monsters and Mortals in the next few days where I'll share those 2 modes and you can kind of see what they're about. Let's see, Kotaro Kujo threw in another 50 seg. Thank you. Hope you're doing well since Chapter 5 is approaching closer and closer. Will you finally reveal the lyrics for the Golden Rule and Mind Your Manners? Actually, we had questions about those in the past. People were asking if they were actual lyrics, and Dan revealed that he just made cool sounding gibberish. Like they're not actual lyrics. I thought at first that he had actually put Latin chanting, like a Latin choir, into the song. And he's just like, no, it's gibberish. But it almost sounds like a Latin choir. So there's not actually specific lyrics if you're talking about the background chanting. It's more of still an ambient track. See, Shadow X Acno threw in 2 again. Thank you. Is it true that Holiday Horror has 10 OSTs and not 9? Holiday Horror. Well, let's count them. see how many we have at this point. I mean, off the top of my head, without taking too much time for that, I mean, it's 2 per zone. Let's see the boss. Yeah, it's probably, I mean, I hope I'm not wrong about this, but I believe it's 9 tracks. I'd have to go through and look at them again. So just like quick take, probably wrong. 9 tracks for the Holiday Horror OST. But we have a lot of tracks, so it's easy to kind of lose count. Krakow64 threw another £5. Thank you, Krakow. Is there a reason for why the name Wicked Ways doesn't imply anything for the level, like how the others refer to the level or enemies? Or does it? It does, you just don't have the context, so you don't know what it refers to. Let's see, Lonely Mage doing another 3. Thank you, Lonely Mage. Does Prison Panic have multiple pursuit tracks? Prison Panic is a little bit unique in that it uses less pursuit tracks. It has, I think, let's see, 1, 2. I think it only has 2 pursuit tracks for the entire level. Let's see, Ziani threw in 5. Since Lucky dislikes Darkstar, do Penny and Hangry like her? Well, I mean, Hangry kind of echoes anything Lucky thinks because he's always seeking Lucky's approval. Penny kind of does her own. I mean, Penny also is obsessed with Lucky and kind of follows him, but she's prone to have her own kind of opinions on things, despite whatever Lucky thinks. Mr. Devbro threw in 5 Canadian. Thank you, Mr. Devbro. What is going to be your marketing strategy for Dark Deception? Like, how many trailers? Also, I am the first person to do a Monsters Immortal stream. Oh, really? Okay, so, well, our marketing strategy for Dark Deception is, as I mentioned, 2 trailers. One of them is going to be a much bigger trailer, the first one. I don't know if we're going to do any teasers. And then, of course, we have our Dark Deception ambassadors that are going to help us spread the word this time. That's something we haven't had before. So we have a team of influencers, Super Dark Deception. I don't mean like Super Dark Deception. I mean they're just like absolute Dark Deception fans. They're also influencers themselves. They're very supportive. They're helping us. They'll all be getting like advanced copies of Chapter 5 to kind of play it and drop it early. So we'll have press involved. It'll be much bigger than Chapter 4's release. So it will get a lot of hype. And we'll probably send it out to traditional Game Press media as well. Still hoping Corey Kenshin comes back in time for that, but we'll see. And as far as the first person do a Monsters Immortal stream, I don't know. We've had a lot of those since the game dropped. But if you were number 1, first one, then you've been with us the whole way. So that's awesome. I appreciate that. I mean, Monsters Immortals is still alive because of the fans that it has, even though it's a niche game, are very hardcore about it. And that's what allows it to continue growing. So I'm always happy to see tournaments going on, live streams going on, anything that supports the game and gives us a reason to keep working on it, because I like working on it. And it's fun to do these DLCs. So, you know, eventually when the support for the game dries up, it's fine because it's had a good lifespan. But it's been a fun ride with that game. I'm happy to see people still love it and enjoy playing it, and I hope we can keep making it better. And I hope the Doors Piggy DLC brings in a lot of new fans that extend its life. We'll see. Ziani threw in another 5. Why can't Matron or Titan Watcher qualify as a general? Just curious. It's basically based on power. So Matron's pretty simple. She rides around, she's big, and she has some surgical saws. But other than that, her size, she doesn't really have much ability beyond that. Titan Watcher is just a big golem. He doesn't even have a mind. So he's all the Gold Watchers are kind of mindless golems. They are just kind of pre-programmed behavior. The generals are all highly intelligent, which is kind of unique to them. You can see like not all the monsters in the Nightmare Realms have intelligence to a mortal degree or equivalent to a mortal. Unicat and Jess threw in another 10. Somebody said, she's referencing a question I didn't read. So she's saying the weapon question someone asked was referencing the scrapped idea of Monsters and Mortals Lucky attacking with a weapon rather than the combo. How big and brutal was the weapon? And why was the idea scrapped? Oh, okay. So with the weapon they described was never in his design. I think at some point he did have like a bat or something or some weapon of that nature, but he attacks with his hands instead. He's like prefers to get hands-on with his violence. So we get some weird questions for Lucky sometimes, so that can be easily misinterpreted based on some of the questions I get from the fans for Lucky. But yeah, the weapon wasn't that impressive because we just decided to go with the physical hand approach, like just the melee. Let's see, Mr. Mister threw in 2. Thank you, Mr. Mister. What was the inspiration for Puppet King's design? Puppet King's design, I'm trying to remember what the primary inspiration was. It's kind of a mix. You know, all the characters are kind of a mix of inspirations. So I think as far as his look, we wanted to make him, or I wanted to make him similar to the Red Stalkers because, you know, the Red Stalkers were actually designed first. They were intended at first to be the primary enemy of holiday horror, and they were kind of like the murder monkey. They're just kind of like animals or creatures. They don't really have intelligence. They're just reactionary and based on instinct. But after a while, compared to other enemies, that felt a bit bland. So I kind of went back and redesigned and gave them a master, and that became Puppet King. And I wanted him to kind of mimic their appearance. So they have cone heads, like sharp, pointy heads. I wanted him to have a sharp, pointy head as well to kind of match them, to match his puppets. And then from there, it was just kind of hashing out what felt like, I mean, the items he controls are mannequins, so I wanted him to look like a mannequin as well. And that just kind of gave birth to that design. I think personality-wise, a lot of his personality, or at least a good part of it, is inspired by Vecna from Stranger Things Season 4. But there's some other characters as well that have also had some. I think there's some influences from Akira. There's a lot of various small influences. Like nothing is like everything is based on this one thing. It's all like 10% of this and 15% of that. It's just like they all contributed to which direction I went with him as far as the design, the personality. They all kind of add some inspiration. Let's see, Explosive Omega threw in 5, and this is third super. Thank you, Explosive. When more content is added to Doors, do you think there could be a sequel to the Doors DLC in Monsters and Mortals 2? Well, I mean, at this point, let's see. It's always possible. I don't know what the Monsters and Mortals sequel would be. We definitely want to do another Monsters and Mortals game, but of course, the gaming trends are changing. Multiplayer games just aren't hitting like they used to. You can see there's a lot of big failures, Concord being the most recent one. AAA multiplayer games are flopping, and it seemed like a lot of the fans just are not into multiplayer games like they were. There's a few really big ones that just continue to remain big because they're very firmly established and they have a huge fan base already in place, like Dead by Daylight, Fortnite, those kind of games, but it's really hard for new games to come in and find traction. So, Monsters Immortals may evolve into something a little bit different. It'll always be multiplayer, but we may handle it differently to make it fit better with the single player crowd, to give them something that's more in line with their tastes. So, I usually don't want to repeat partnerships. Like, I like to do unique partnerships per game. That way it doesn't feel like you're just recycling the same partnerships over and over and over again. Uh, of course, if it's something really awesome like Resident Evil, I would be happy to put that in every game. But for the most part, I want to try new partnerships because that's interesting and that keeps things fresh for our fans and exciting because it's new. Unicat, whoop. Why did it jump right as I was trying to read it? So Unicat Ninjas has another little quote for me here. 1 second. $10. Thank you, Unicat. It says, Vince, there's a llama growing out of your hat and it's going to turn to a giraffe, quick and smoothie, and it's going to be awful. Bruh, call 911. Oh no, I can't because my cell phone rotted into a fossil. Sound like you have coffee. I don't have coffee yet. You make it, every time I read your supers, you make me wish I had some coffee so I can have that level of energy. Dying here. Okay, Kyoko Kirigiri threw another 5. Who does the strategy and planning in Malik's army? Does he mainly do it himself, or does he leave it to his minions to do, like Dark Star? Malik handles everything himself. He mostly delegates and has his minions kind of, or his generals and his minions kind of enforce things for him. But he is kind of the master strategist. He is the one who kind of has control over every decision. And he likes things that way because that gets the results, that delivers the results that he desires. So yeah, he mainly does it himself. Some things he will leave to his minions. You see, he leaves a lot of things to Agatha and lets her kind of run around and do what she wants. You'll see that with the new enemies like Darkstar and maybe Mama Bear. He only kind of uses her for his certain purposes, and he doesn't like to visit her too much because she annoys him with the Dear Malik statements. But he's very busy. He has a very busy schedule, so he makes do where he can. Calvin threw in Hong Kong 30. Thank you, Calvin. So glad you're feeling better. I want to ask, will the voice reveal be before the trailer, after the trailer, or we'll see in Chapter 5? The voice reveals, I assume you mean Darkstar and Puppet King, likely before the trailers. So possibly before the end of the year, if not, like within the next few months. Also, thank you for the well wishes. I appreciate that. Zabuzen threw in 5. Thank you, Zabuzen, again. Will the Trigger Teddy and Mama Bear be added to Monsters Immortals soon? No, I wouldn't say soon because we have to get through the DLCs first. It will be kind of after the DLCs where we'll go back and focus on the base game and add in some of those extra characters. Kotaro Kujo threw another Sec 100. Thank you again. Last message for stream. I genuinely love the old OST like Dark Destiny. I think it would work well if you made a DD movie, and will you make a personal tier list of all the characters as roommates? Well, as far as like the old OST, we've kind of left it in the past. It's not coming back. I really like that you appreciate the old version. It definitely had like a very dramatic Danny Elfman type vibe. Maybe possibly it could be slipped in as like an extra secret song or something as like a tribute to the early Dark Deception. But I think our music style is pretty set now. Dan has done an amazing job, and we like his kind of interpretation of the Dark Deception universe. And we're going to kind of keep moving in that direction. As far as the tier list of all the characters as roommates, yeah, sure. That'd be kind of fun. Interesting to do. If anybody wants to beat me to it. Shayla threw in another 2 Canadian. Thank you, Shayla. Does Malik have an inspiration behind his design? Yeah, I'm just trying to remember because I designed Malik so long ago, back in 2013. I'm trying to remember what inspired me back then to make him. I know he was inspired by elegant villains. I'm trying to remember which one. If it was Loki or I think Loki had some influence on his design and his personality. Uh, I think some of his design was influenced by some historical photos that I saw, old Carney costumes. There was a mess of influence from the past and from movies, um, and it all kind of amalgamated into Malik. Let's see. Shark Fan threw another £5. Thank you, Shark Fan. If we're going into holiday horror with all 6 powers we currently have, then why aren't we getting a new power after retrieving it? Or retrieving the Mascot Mayhem ring piece? Let's see. Oh, okay. So let's see. We've got 1 power. So originally they got a power after each level, but they didn't get any power after the Barely Buried because there wasn't a ring piece, and after Mascot Mayhem. So that was originally because the original design of Dark Deception was only intended to have 6 powers, and that was it. It was capped at that, which didn't make sense as we went on. So it was kind of redesigned and updated to have more powers, and that's why Chapter 5 has powers as well. Because we felt at first that more than 6 powers would be too many, but it didn't really fit well to have like some bosses deliver powers and others don't. Each ring piece imbues Doug with a power. So that's kind of what we've settled with and kind of updated the game into now. And you'll see that when Chapter 5 releases, that every stage with a ring piece will imbue Doug with a power. Pyro Shark 119 threw in $2. Thank you, Pyro Shark. Will chapters 1 through 2 get updated boss achievements? No, probably not, because the achievements are already set for those chapters. We typically just focus on the S rank as the achievement for each level, since that's really the achievement that matters. UBF 13 through in 2. Can you reveal what inspired Darkstar's design? Darkstar's design, if I remember right, there were a couple influences for it. I'm trying to remember the name of that series. Oh, okay. So remember, I said inspirations are like minor degrees. Like it could be one element, or if it's more influential, it could have a larger percentage. But it's usually a mix of things. So the only thing that immediately popped out to me as I remember was Kill la Kill, the anime, was like a slight influence to her design. I'm trying to remember what the other ones were. Lady Gaga was one. It's just a mix. It's just a mix, because usually what I do when I design a character is I collect a bunch of different reference, different inspirations, and I just kind of go through each one and see what I like about each one, what I don't, and then I have my own kind of ideas, and then I just kind of take elements, little pieces, and put them together into a larger design, and that will be kind of the roughing phase, and I'll do like 50 different rough silhouettes of those inspirations as different design silhouettes, and take the pieces of each one that I like and eliminate some, and it all kind of just keeps blending down and down until it's just one left. Let's see. Unicat Ninjas threw another 5. Oh, she's ready to go again. Vince, I tried looking for Bug ferrets into car wash, but I only found S bonkers. Weasel dude, bro. Dude, bro, homie. Oh, car wash turning on. Died. Well, Unicat and Jess has now died, so I'm afraid she won't be joining us for the remainder of this live stream. A moment of silence for Unicat. Mr. Devbro threw in $2. Thank you, Mr. Devbro. Did you see the SDD Chapter 3 leaks? Yeah, but I mean, I think everybody knows those are fan created. They're imaginations of what Chapter 3 will look like. So, you know, they call everything a leak. But it's basically just fan art. So I think it's cool somebody's trying to imagine what Chapter 3 looks like. But there's no existing art for Super Dark Deception Chapter 3. It hasn't been created yet. So there's nothing to leak. Let's see, PyroShark119 threw in 5. Thank you, PyroShark. This is a bit far-fetched, but will there be a Chapter 5 rap song in the making? If so, is it Puppet King, and will it show HH gameplay? Actually, you're not too far off. There may be a rap song for Chapter 5, but it won't be like the Chapter 4 rap songs where it was for YouTube and it was just something to promote the upcoming game. It's possible we might do that, but largely it's possible it might be inside the game itself as for a specific part of the game. But we're not 100% on that, so me saying that doesn't guarantee, yes, there's a rap track in Chapter 5. It just means there might be. Rolling Chris threw in 2. Thank you, Rolling Chris. Dark Deception, Fortnite crossover. When? Kidding. Well, when we're a lot more popular, maybe. I mean, I've already joked that they've put Dark Deception in Fortnite because at some point there is some characters that appeared that mysteriously look like really close to the Dread Ducky. And I've seen them do that with other games too, where they just have these skins and outfits that look amazingly similar to an existing popular indie IP, but they didn't officially license it. So as far as I'm concerned, we're already in Fortnite. And when they want to make it official, we can do it. But I think they need us to, 1, sell a lot more copies, and 2, finish the game. And then maybe that discussion can happen. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Dark Deception is silly enough to fit into Fortnite. I think probably all the current popular indie horror games could do that. I mean, FNAF would fit, Bendy would fit, Poppy Playtime would fit, Little Nightmares would fit. Pretty much anything fits with Fortnite. So, I mean, yeah, it's possible. See, Captain Avocado threw in 5, and it's his first super chat. Thank you. Says, hope you're doing good, bro. Quick question. Will we get trailers for the new enhancement levels like we did with the first enhancement levels? Yeah, it's possible. I might do a trailer for chapters 1 through 4. Emphasis on might. You know, if it's going to slow down the release of the game for me to put together a trailer, I might just say screw it and, you know, get the game out first and then drop the trailer later. You know, it's not going to change the store pages. The store pages are still going to be the same, so it would actually require me to create a new trailer for every single chapter. So that may not be feasible, but we may not have a choice because I don't want them to see the old visuals in the trailers. So probably now that I'm thinking about that, yeah, we do need to create a trailer for each chapter because these are going to be the final visuals. We're not going to do any more enhancements. This will be it. It will age from here. So look forward to Dark Deception 2 because these are the final visuals. We're not going to update them again with Chapter 5's release. When we put out this enhancement, that's it for chapters 1 through 4. We're done with them, other than bug fixing. Let's see. Kyoko Kirigiri threw another 5. Third super chat. Thank you, Kyoko. Does Darkstar have a large fan base in Dark Deception universe since she is a star? Also, are the fans tame or unhinged? Yeah, Darkstar is a bit of a celebrity in the Nightmare Realms. She does have a large fan base. Are her fans tame or unhinged? That's, I guess, open to interpretation. So you'll see in Chapter 5 how they behave. But that's it for the super chats. Thank you, everybody who contributed and supports us by asking these questions. One, we appreciate the support. Two, our fans love hearing me answer these questions. It gives them information, allows them to get a kind of preview of what's coming, and it's just fun to address these. So now, as promised, I'm going to go back and look at the member chat and give our members, our YouTube channel members, a chance to ask some questions. They support our YouTube channel. We appreciate them as well. So I'm just going to scroll back and sort through and see if they've got anything interesting in there that we haven't already addressed. So members, if you have any questions you haven't thrown in yet, feel free to drop them now. And I see Powblocks said he spent $2 to do a super. Thank you, Powblocks. I assume you did it under a different name because I didn't get any supers from you. At least not under your name. Well, here you go. I got one question for you. So, yo, Vince, what will you do with Monsters and Mortals since the player base is barely existent? Well, nothing, because there's nothing I can really do about that. I mean, it's up to the fans to engage with the game. I can only create the game. I can't go around to people's houses and force them to play Monsters and Mortals. If they don't want to play it, they're just not going to play it. So what usually happens with Monsters and Mortals is what happens with all these multiplayer games. People come out, they play it in the beginning, and then they all disappear. Why? Because there's so many good games. I mean, you can't play one game forever. There's so many good games out, and there's always new games coming. Even I do that. I jump around games like crazy, playing new ones. It's hard to go back to the old ones, but I do, especially if I want to complete some achievements and stuff. But you know, the DLCs are what bring people back to Monsters and Mortals. When we release a new DLC, everybody comes back. They play. Nobody has problems finding people for a match. And then like 2 weeks later, they all go on to new things again. And it kind of dies off. There's nothing to be done about that. It is what it is. Monsters and Mortals is an indie budget multiplayer game. I'm not going to spend millions on ads to try to pull new people in for a game that has a very set low earnings potential. It makes just enough revenue to stay profitable and keep our fans happy. And the DLCs are enough reason for them to come back and play it and enjoy the fun again. And we'll keep improving it that way. But yeah, is it going to have thousands of people online constantly so that people can easily jump into a match? No, I don't control our gaming community. I don't control gamers. Even Project Playtime is dead. And at one point they had 16,000 players. They're dead now. It's like less than 1,000. And that's on a good day. Some of these new games are pulling in less than 300 players. So, I mean, it's nothing to be done about that. And I don't feel bad about that because it's outside my control. So all I can do is keep making cool DLCs that make people want to come back and play Monsters and Mortals. And all the fan base can do is keep supporting them. That's so I can keep making them. It's kind of a win-win. Let's see. Shadow Phoenix asks, what has been the most challenging feature to implement so far in Chapter 5? Well, this one I kind of have to lie about because the one that's actually been the hardest to implement is a spoiler, so I can't talk about it. So I have to think of one that is not a spoiler that I can say is the hardest, but it's not actually the hardest. So the hardest one to implement has been in Fear Fortress at the end for the final boss fight with Malik. It's a very challenging and ambitious kind of moment. I guess that's all I can say about that. I'll leave it at that. rather than making up a story about some other part of the game. It's that moment, final boss fight with Malik. It's just can't go into detail about it. See, Argo4 asks, will the two new powers be essential for gameplay? And will they be overpowered in previous levels? Also, will you be reopening looking into ambassador applications sometime soon? Yeah. So to answer the second question first, with the ambassador applications, we've had to be so initially the ambassador program was only large YouTube channels, guys like Super Horror Bro and 8-Bit Ryan and Corey Kenshin, the Game Salmon, you know, guys that we've been communicating with and who have been fans of Dark Deception for a while and supported it early when their channels were a lot smaller. Like, I think when Super Horror Bro kind of first started playing Dark Deception, he was only like 300,000 subscribers. Now he's like, what, over 2 million or something. Those guys are very professional. They're very reliable. So we opened up the Dark Deception Ambassador program to smaller channels, which a lot of them are Dark Deception fans. And almost immediately somebody started leaking our server chats to Russian YouTubers, who then leaked it on to further places. So we've had to be a lot more, I guess, a lot more nitpicky about kind of who we let into the Dark Deception Ambassadors program, just to keep kind of a professional environment and make sure that we're bringing in people who actually want to help grow the fan base, grow Dark Deception, and they're not just there looking for secrets to leak. Because inevitably, we always get that. And they do that for clout. So yes, we will at some point, but right now I'm just kind of going through the ones that we've already accepted, making sure that they are all good fits for the Dark Deception Ambassador program, and that we can kind of build with them. And then once we feel established with them and there's a kind of a level of trust within our Dark Deception Ambassador program, we will bring in new people and we can kind of vet them and make sure they're all on the level and people that we want to work with and trust with our brand. So we will open up applications again. Right now, they're kind of closed for the moment. But I think when Chapter 5 gets close to release, we'll kind of open it up and do like a small recruiting process to bring in a few more and see how it goes. As for the two new powers, I think the powers are all essential. It's just they're not going to be like, you have to use this power. At that point in the game, the power choice and assignment is up to you. It's up to your gameplay style, what works best for you, and how skilled you are, how well you use them will determine how effective they are and how essential they are to you beating the level. It's really up to you and your style of gameplay. So that's basically what it is from that point on. Joy Lucky says, of the 4 generals of Malik, would you say any of them are more higher up or powerful than the others? Also, if any of them had a shot of taking down Malik, do you think it would be? I think Mama Bear. So the 4 generals of Malik, I would say they're all of kind of equal power level, but they all have their strengths and weaknesses. You know, none of them is perfect or has leverage over the others. They're all kind of held in check, and they're all subservient to Malik. So if any of them could take down Malik and had a motive to do so, honestly, it could be any of them. They all serve Malik, love Malik, but they also have maybe some grudge against Malik. Maybe with the exception of Mama Bear, although I think even she would have a complaint against Malik. Maybe he doesn't visit enough. You know, she's all there by herself with the kids. She likes it when he comes around. But yeah. I think your impression of Mama Bear would also be plausible. Let me see. I'll just say real quick, somebody, Ice Hacker 457 said, Yo, Vince, first time in your stream. Pleasure to meet you. Wow, welcome to the stream, man. Episode 28. It's a good time to join. Let me scroll through, see if there's anything new that hasn't been addressed. Ice Hacker asked, after Monsters and Mortals, will you be continuing on with Dark Deception Chapter 5? Monsters and Mortals in Chapter 5 don't affect each other, so they're always in development. They're separate. So Chapter 5 is always going no matter what else is going. I think a lot of fans have this weird idea that like somehow Chapter 5, like we just do one game at a time and Chapter 5 stops when we do something else. So Super Dark Deception has its own team. Dark Deception has its own team. Monsters and Mortals kind of uses a mix of the two teams, but it doesn't stop work on either game. But there's always these fans, some fans, or some people who are not fans but pretend to be, that claim that like if Monsters and Mortals releases something that it's somehow slowed down Chapter 5, or Super Dark Deception is replacing Chapter 5, and that those are the people who are like, oh, you need to focus on your game. And I'm like, Chapter 5 never stops developing. I don't think they understand that. So, yeah, they don't affect each other. Somebody, let's see, Pavlak said, why is Monsters and Mortals considered profitable? Who is buying this game? I don't know them personally. They're just people on Steam. Monsters and Mortals is considered profitable because it relies on game sales, not number of people playing. We're not a freemium game. If ever, if 500,000 people buy Monsters and Mortals and nobody plays it, 0 people playing it, it's a huge success. Because we made our money from them buying the game, not from playing it. So that's kind of how Monsters and Mortals work. It's entirely dependent on sales, not concurrent players. And the game continues to sell. I mean, it was at 124,000 units sold last time I said. I think recently it's reaching almost 140,000. It sells slowly, but it continues to sell. So it's funding itself. For some reason, a lot of gamers now think concurrent players somehow equals money. It's a useless stat. No developer that doesn't make a premium game, freemium, cares about that number. I mean, obviously it's important to the lifespan of the game. If nobody's playing it, it will eventually die and people will stop buying copies of it. But I mean, if you've already made your money, if the game's already broken even and profitable, then it's easy to accept. I mean, look at Helldivers 2. They made a massive amount of money in the beginning. Like, so many people bought that game. And then, shortly later, a few months later, their numbers nosedived down to very meager numbers of, I mean, there's still tons of people playing it. It's just compared to those early numbers, they lose like, I don't know, 70% of their players or more. But it doesn't matter. The game's already a massive success. If it goes to 0 from there, that game is already a massive success. It's not making its money, by people playing it. It's the entry price tag, the one that was paid when they bought the game. Plus, if there's any DLC, those people will buy the DLC as well. The game is already funded and broken even. It's profitable. No matter what happens from there, it's profitable. Let me see. Just to explain that a bit more, because I think, I don't know where that started. Maybe it started with YouTubers, but they've been emphasizing the concurrent player number like it's some new metric for success. Unless you're free. It really has no bearing on success at all. But people continue to screen capture Steam data and post that like it matters. I don't get that. I'm always kind of confused by that. Papa King 69 says, I wonder. Sorry, it's allergy season. I wonder if Monster Party is in Wicked Ways. No, Monster Party is from Fear Fortress. So it plays in Fear Fortress. Just kind of going through the member chat, see if there's any other interesting questions. Oh, I saw some people gifting memberships to new fans. That's awesome. Thanks to everyone who does that. Ember Cub said, this is just a statement. It says, wanted to stop by and say hi and give some support. Excited for whenever Chapter 5 is out and whenever it releases on consoles. Yes, we're very excited too. We have some awesome plans post Dark Deception that we want to get to. So I think we're all excited to see Chapter 5 finally release. Autumn Azure took off, said bye. So just want to acknowledge that, say bye to Autumn Azure. Autumn always comes in and supports our live streams. I really appreciate those fans that are always here, whether they're here or not, that come in and support us with super chats or just by watching or asking member questions. You guys are the lifeblood of the DD community, so appreciate all of you. Shadow Exacno says Dan is a genius. Yes, he is. I will never disagree with that. David Greco, why was Doug's model visible for a split second in Chapter 4? Bierce versus Mallet cutscene, and then it's never seen again. Well, you have to understand, chapters 1 through 3, we never intended to show Doug. He was just supposed to be a silent hero or anti-hero. You never see him, you never hear him, you only hear his kind of witness and see his visible inner thoughts. Obviously, as we developed, Dark Deception expanded and kind of changed the scope and intent of the game, it became okay to see Doug. And then we've kind of changed that now with the updated versions of chapters 1 through 4. In Chapter 5, you will see Doug. There will actually be some cutscenes with him, and eventually you will even hear him. Nate the Gamer Boy says, what are you most excited to show us in Chapter 5? I mean, the whole game, but especially, I think, Fear Fortress, because it's just the most dramatic moment of the game. It has the most action, it has the most events happening, the most chaos. It's just the craziest part of Chapter 5 and the entire game. Will Bierce run for president someday? Mr. Debro. Let's see. That looks like pretty much it for today. And I see we're at 3 hours and 13 minutes, so I'm not going to feel bad about that. I think we got a lot into this episode. So that's amazing, you guys. Thank you for those questions. I think this time the questions were a bit more interesting and a lot harder to answer. I like that. So really, really happy that you guys are here and you watched this for 3 hours, if you stuck it out the whole way. And thank you to everyone that made a super chat and asked me interesting questions that I could answer for the community. That's what they're here for. They want to hear these answers and hear what they have to look forward to. I think 2023 is going really well. No coffee yet. 2024 is going really well compared to 2023. Um, just because, 2023 we didn't get much out, but so far 2024 we've already gotten out so much, and we've got a lot that's going to hit before the year ends. So as we roll into the holiday season, I'm kind of looking forward to our holiday video at the end of the year, as I think we've got a lot more to report on this year than last year. And then, of course, the big one on the horizon for 2025, it's looking pretty awesome. And we have some new stuff outside of Dark Deception coming in 2025 too. Not necessarily for release, but a new journey, a new franchise, things we want to announce that we haven't announced for a while or haven't been able to announce because our focus is entirely on Dark Deception Chapter 5. So a lot to look forward to. I'm feeling excited. I hope you guys are all excited too. Super Dark Deception's doing great. I hope that continues to do well. And I really look forward to getting out Chapter 2 so that you can play, of course, some of the most popular levels in Dark Deception, experience them with all the new added moments and cutscenes. Because, Dark Deception, the update for Chapters 1 through 4 is also in Super Dark Deception. So you'll actually get to see those changes in Super Dark Deception first before they hit Dark Deception. So it'll be a lot of fun. I think the Joy Joy Gang and Mama Bear and all of them are very interesting in 2D. And then I'm excited to share the new DLC for Monsters Immortals and bring people back to that and get that kind of revitalized and see how they like the Coma. I hope that brings a lot more attention to the Coma 2 Vicious Sisters and the Coma series in general. I know they have a new one coming out soon. The Coma 2B. I think they're really underrated horror gem. I really love those games, so I'm happy to collaborate with them and put them in Monsters Immortals. So yeah, I think that's a lot of cool stuff, and I'm really happy to see Dark Deception on consoles starting to all come together. So that's pretty much it for episode 28. I hope you've all had a good time. Episode 29 will be next month, right before Halloween. Great time to do it. Maybe I'll make it kind of a Halloween special and deck out this room. And maybe I'll wear like a Dark Deception costume or something. I don't know. Whatever I can put together. So yeah, that'll be fun. I'll see you guys next time. Enjoy the rest of your day. Or if you're going to bed, have a good night. And yeah, thank you all for being here.